democracy and ever-changing bills and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello, and welcome to episode 152 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as the monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at June 1990 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 62 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles and albums chart that month. Graham, will this week be a Brucey bonus, or is it more of a blankety blank, checkbook and pen?
It's the crazy month of June 1990, a month that featured the discovery of the Mars Trojan asteroid Eureka and saw Florida passing a law that prohibits the wearing of thong bathing suits. How odd. Anyway, in this episode, we grab our green hairy balls, check our head and shaft are not twisted, and ensure our grommets and strings are tight as we enter the triangular world of international 3D tennis. And we prepare ourselves for another speedy jog and fly through the stripy landscapes and flickery sprites of the 8-bit fantasy zone in Space Harrier 2. It's a funny old month, June 1990. The Cure headlined the UK Glastonbury Festival, and the 500-1 long-shot Egyptian football team drew 1-1 with the favourites Netherlands in the World Cup. Blimey, while we all collectively gasp, we pop to the derivative section of the Arcade Obscura to pluck yet another game from the dark cobweb-filled depths, this time converted to Slabby 64 Grey in Scramble Spirits. Explore the brown UI and strategic brown icon placement of a C64 game completely in the wrong D with Carrier Command, before finally popping to Miami, revving some enormous outboard engines and bouncing our flashy speedboats as we wave hello to Don Johnson and take on Powerboat USA, Offshore Superboat Racing. Sensible Software says a final farewell to the C64 this month. Sad times indeed. They go on to amazing things on the Amiga, of course, and at least they leave an amazing legacy of games on the C64. Farewell for now, guys. Good old checkbook and pen. Do you know, there may be listeners of this podcast, I'm not saying there aren't, but there may be listeners who don't know what a checkbook was.
That's true, actually, yeah, a checkbook.
Because my daughter and my children actually don't understand what that means. When my mum, who's 84, gave my eldest a check for his birthday, he looked at it and said, thank you. He was really grateful. And afterwards he looked at me and went, what is this? What does it do?
Oh, go to your bank and pay it in.
I said you can pay it in. It's like a IOU. How does it work? You can just write on a piece of paper and say it's suddenly worth money. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to explain the fiscal system, but this is how it used to work, all right? We
Absolutely.
used to work on, people took your word for it. It's all it takes nowadays. You don't have that.
If you were really lucky, you might have got a postal order.
It's the exact opposite of cryptocurrency. It's the most insecure thing you can possibly have that's worth something. All right, there we go.
It's got your name on it. As long as it's got your name on it. If it's a blank one and it's signed, ooh.
Yeah. I can't remember. Someone gave that to me once. He gave me a check for 5p, but didn't sign it. Can't remember why now. Anyway,
well, he didn't trust you.
Yeah, probably. Why? I don't know. I don't know why it was.
I don't know either. Anyway, it's a new month, so we should discuss the cover.
We should.
After that checkbook tomfoolery. And clearly the summer is here because it's the summer. It's time for Wimbledon. We've got a tennis player on the front.
We have, in very short shorts. Very short. Very short.
Well, they're short. So they are. I actually noticed how short they were until you just pointed it out. I was more taken with this slightly gormless expression.
Yeah, it's odd because the tennis ball looks like a cricket ball and it's yellow. Well, it's supposed to, because it hasn't got the tennis ball lines and they're normally green, aren't they? Which is odd.
It's too shiny. Tennis balls are rough and matte.
Maybe it's the ball from the Phantasm movies. It's actually, that's why he's looking weary. It's going to slam into his forehead and drill his brains out.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, it's an action pose. I normally like the action poses, but I have to tell you, this one doesn't really have much movement in it. It's just like he's frozen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one. I do like the fact you can see the Zap logo through the racket.
Yes. I noticed that. It's a nice touch, isn't it?
That is a nice touch, yes. And so, yes, this is for International 3D Tennis, a Grand Slam winner from Palace. Oh,
Yeah. Very good.
See what
very
they did
good.
there. See what they did there.
Bit of tennis humour.
Indeed. And you can get 2 games this month. Is it from now on in? Is it just a tape every month?
I don't know. I had to stop buying Zap by this point, so we'd have to check on the old
I reckon it is.
views. It might be.
Because you could get Oh No from Sensible Software
Oh yeah.
and Dominion from Sisters of Mercy. No, sorry, Thalamus.
Dominion.
Some say prayers.
That's on the B side of the tape.
Yeah, but just say Amazing Apex music, whatever that is.
Yeah, what does that mean?
No one knows. No one knew. I suppose
Okay.
someone could tell us who got this tape. I never did.
Yeah.
But yeah, Creature Feature Diary of Game Returns. Yeah, it's a bit on the dull side, isn't it? I'm not a big fan of this cup. It's a good tennis player figure, but it's just a bit dull.
Yeah, it is. I'm not quite sure of it. It lacks the movement. It's got the classic blurry background, but it doesn't look like he's on a tennis court. I'm not sure where he is. But it is what it is, I suppose. It's just a bit obvious. It's more obvious than it usually would be. It's normally they're closer into the face. There'd be a ball smacking his cheek, tennis ball.
It'd be a
smacking his
ninja
cheek.
somewhere popping along.
Yeah. He doesn't normally draw the ninjas in such short shorts. They are short. I'm telling you, if he turned around, that'd be right up his arse crack, and that would be unpleasant for all.
It would be very
And
unpleasant
him.
for all. Yeah, it would be. But yeah, it's a bit of a... and it's gone back, I think, at this point. Oh, no, it's still C64 Amiga. We're very close to it losing the Amiga stuff.
Wow, okay. By popular demand.
Yeah, it just goes. You could win a Sony MIDI hi-fi with Activision. Is that like an add-on?
It's actually got Activision on it, some whatever that is.
I just wanted it with Dolby. No, it comes with Activision. That's the better version, is it?
Oh, the days of winning hi-fi separates. They always looked good as sort of. I mean, I don't know why they're called the MIDI. Is that because it's slightly smaller in form factor? Was that the
Quite possible.
rationale?
Mine was separates. I had a CD, tape player, vinyl player, record player, and
turntable,
and
I
amp.
believe
Yeah,
it's the,
turntable and amp all stacked up together. Nice little
With the
setup.
EQ that you never really touched. You put it into a configuration, it didn't do fuck all. And you're like, that doesn't make the sound any better. It's just a worse sound generator. Never made it sound good, ever.
No, it didn't.
Well,
But,
it wouldn't do, would it? Because you'd have to configure the EQ for every single record. It's not like that's what it's really designed to do. You can't just have a generic EQ for all brands of music. Nobody really said that in the instructions, though, did they? So,
but I think did mine come with presets? You had rock, pop.
oh yeah, mine had
kind of
that.
stuff.
It was rubbish.
Rock just turned the bass up,
Yeah.
and pop just turned the treble up. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's all they do. Yeah, they just knock frequencies out, and that's or increase them. EQing shouldn't really be done at that point. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of EQing videos on on YouTube,
I can tell.
and I've just confused myself with all the terminology now. I don't know what really. I'm just sticking to Dobley.
It's probably for the best. I just like whatever floats through my transom. Just as a little bit of an extra for this week, I noticed in this month's magazine, they had the 1989 Readers Awards.
Okay,
And I thought it'd be quite interesting to sort of see if you could guess them. What they thought, not what we thought, obviously what you thought the readers thought the best games were in these categories. So, and then see what you thought. I'll give you...
Gosh.
So what did you think they thought was the best game of the year?
When was this? What period is this based between?
It's,
Is this
it's 1989, so it's 1989. So I'll give you the top three, so see if you can say... And the thing is, you'll go, at the top three. But
Okay.
so the best game of the year, joint second place were Batman the movie and The Untouchables. Actually, I'm going to just tell you what it is now, aren't I? I've just told you
you
in
may as
second
well.
place. Can't guess the winner? It was Turbo Outrun.
Right. Okay. Well, Turbo Outrun at least deserves to be applauded for some things, but Batman and Untouchables, no.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
No.
our best game was Project Firestar, which I think is way more deserving.
Yeah, just a bit. How did they not see that? Well, if we'd have bung them, a big brown envelope of cash.
Well, the thing is, it's the Readers Awards, and because Project Firestar never probably didn't get played by many
Yeah,
readers.
maybe.
So
Yeah,
there's
I
that.
still don't buy it. I don't care if they say they're Readers Awards. What readers? Show me the proof. I want to see evidence.
Absolutely. Best coin-up conversion. So it's either out of Ghouls and Ghosts, Turbo Outrun, or Power Drift.
I would say Power Drift myself. Out of those.
It's Turbo Outrun one.
Oh, what? It's
Yeah.
good, but it's not as good as Power Drift.
No, it's not. But it did win. So there you go. Best original game. What have we got listed here? We've got Stunt Car Racer, Myth, or Citadel.
I would have given it to probably Stunt Car Racer.
Yes, they did. That got the best game, best original game.
That's deserved.
Yeah, give it that. What else we got here? Best RPG now. Let's go to best sound. So, best sound, Turbo Outrun, Myth, and you're going to laugh here, The Untouchables.
Oh, you're joking me. Where's Ghouls and Ghosts, for goodness sake?
Don't know. But The Untouchables with that awful, plinky plonky awfulness.
How is that even in? It cannot be. So
It's
no,
in the top three.
I can't have won, surely.
What do you think won then out of those three?
The first one.
Turbo Outrun.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, it was good, the music for that.
Yes, it was good. Yeah, it was in. I think it was in ours. It was a runner-up in ours.
Yeah. Good music in that.
Can you guess what got best software house?
Ocean.
Yeah, they did.
Of course they did.
Of course they did.
And then the most cash in an envelope award went to.
What else is there? Best budget game. This is weird though because this is just like re-releases. So you had Whizball, Ghosts and Goblins, or Zamzara.
Whizball should have won that.
It did win, yeah, but it shouldn't really. I don't know.
Yeah, and the amount of money that the sensible guys made from the re-release of that, nil point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
robbers.
They're finally the worst games because they've done it in a really weird way. They're not listing them; they're in a big chunk of text. So the worst games of 1989, you can pick from Cobra, which was a re-release, obviously, Afterburner, or Double Dragon.
Yeah, well, but I would have put Double Dragon in the top of that.
Yeah, that came third worst. It was actually Afterburner.
Yeah, that was crap as well. But there you go.
Yeah,
but that did have a good version, didn't it? Weirdly enough.
And do you know what got best game of the decade?
Oh God, no. Go on.
You can probably guess. Go on, have a guess.
Is it an ocean game?
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's something we're synonymous with.
Elite.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Dizzo to Lave to Dizzo.
I'll say it for the last fucking time. I get it, all right? It was a technical achievement. It's amazing. It's just fucking boring. I'm sorry, but it's boring. Boring. Sorry, but it's boring. I've even got a t-shirt that says, I went to Dizzo and all I got was this stinking boring.
You can take this up with us when we go to the Zap live event in August. You can take us to task how Elite wasn't boring.
Absolutely. Challenge me to a game of Elite, please.
Yeah, convince me it's not boring. And we sat at a table with a sticker.
With a sign that says, Elite is the most boring game. Convince me otherwise. Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. All right, there we go. I just thought that would be an interesting little sojourn there to see what they thought.
It was very cool. Interesting. And that's readers' choices. I think they've been fingered and thumbed, but okay.
What, the readers or the awards?
I'm not saying anything. I'll leave that with you.
Let's just move on quickly. Let's get to our very first game. They've only got 5 this week, so let's get to the first of those. And Graham, it's over to you. It was the cover game, strangely enough, weirdly. And also they had a game on the tape. Anyway, this International 3D Tennis, tell us all about it.
So International 3D Tennis was £9.99, 94%. It's a sizzler. Publisher here is Palace Software. Developer, of course, Sensible Software. Good old Sensible. Coded by Chris Yates, of course. And the musician, although there is no musician for the C64 version, but for the Amiga version was Richard Joseph. And that is important in a moment, and I'll tell you why. So this is the final game from Sensible on C64. I know that we said it was Insects in Space, but we were wrong. All right? We were wrong. Simple.
Yeah,
we were wrong. Completely wrong. But that's because they were kind of made and released in different orders as such. So this one was actually made after Microprose Soccer, but obviously games came out in between, and it's just not the way it works. That's the crazy world of the way it works. So this is the last one from Sensible and 64. It's Amiga all the way after this, and this was also their first foray onto the Amiga proper as well. Oddly, this was also, at the time, their most commercially lucrative game. They got £35,000 up front for this one, and along with a lot of success, it's quite good, but it still seems remarkable to me that they essentially made no money from games like Parallax and Whizball, and only marginal money from Microprose Soccer. But they made enough to start sort of kick Sensible off in the right way a little bit there. It was heading in the right direction, but all of those early games were just cannon fodder. Anyway, there's some great details about this game in the Sensible book. I would strongly recommend that you seek that book out because there's an excellent chapter in this. It's quite thought-provoking too. This game might not look it, at least on the C64, but this is 100% 3D vector-based tennis game. All right, a 3D vector-based tennis game, which also contains all of the male players all of the leagues and competitions and types of court and everything else you can imagine from tennis. Crazy. It also features player assist type notions, 9 different, albeit somewhat pointless views on the C64. Quite a lot to go at. The engine here was also legacy from the Day the Universe Died demo. Do you remember that demo?
Oh, vaguely. Very vaguely.
So it was on Zapped cover tape, ironically enough. It was the one with the spaceships flying in.
Oh,
so
yes.
this is a derivative of that 3D code, or at least the bones of it. And it was all put together, as I said, by Chris Yates. He didn't actually do the Amiga version, just for the record. That was somebody called Dave Korn, who later joined Sensible. And it also had the legendary Richard Joseph on Amiga audio duties. That was his first outing for Sensible, Richard Joseph, and the beginning of an amazing journey in friendship with them, as we all know. However, at this precise time, or should I say back then, Sensible was, for a fleeting moment, Chris Yates, John Harrier, and Martin Galway. Martin Galway would leave for the US at around this time to go and join another company. I forget the name of it. So Sensible was in transition. They had new offices. The business was taking off. They were moving towards the Amiga. Sensible was growing up. And dare I say, getting a bit sensible. Okay. Oof. The ambition for this game is clear and classic Sensible, a sports game, because they had previously enjoyed success with a sports game. Tennis, because they'd been playing it a bit in their spare time. And why not? 3D, because Chris Yates is a clever guy and always pushed the technical envelope of the C64. And Palace Software, because they had a great relationship with them following the Shoot 'em Up construction kit. So this is really a 3D tennis simulation and actually has a lot of control nuance going on under the hood. Obviously, it's a tennis game and follows the general rules of tennis, which are: the primary goal in tennis is to win points by hitting the ball over the net into the opponent's court in such a way that they cannot return it. The scoring system in tennis is unique. Points are counted as 15, 30, and 40, and then game. If both players receive 40, or reach 40, it's called a deuce. From a deuce, a player must win 2 consecutive points to win the game, first to advantage and then the game point. A set is won by the first player to win 6 games with at least a 2-game margin. If the score reaches 6-6, a tiebreaker is usually played. Matches are typically best of 3 sets for women and best of 5 sets for men in major tournaments. I don't know if that's changed, actually. These are from a tennis website, but I don't know if that's changed or anything.
I don't think it has.
So when this game starts, you're presented with some simple options, nice and clear. It reminded me of that Pro Tennis Tour, actually, in the way it kind of presents itself. Large, bold text on the screen, which seems to be the way of things with tennis games. And now, in my mind, they're now synonymous with large fonts and colourful writing. It's simple. 1-player or 2-player tournament season, crowd control and demo. Those are your options. A couple of nice little details here. The crowd control lets you alter the audio settings or filters for the crowd sound, which is really kind of the only main sound on the C64 version. Not so the Amiga one, but it is for the C64. So you can actually change it to suit different sound chips, because obviously the C64C is out by now, and that had a slightly different variation of the SID chip. So that had I think it's an 8581 SID chip, and the old C64 bread bins had a 6581. They do have tonal nuances and tonal differences, so this allowed you to take account for that and make the sound either more hissy or less hissy, more rumbly or less rumbly. Now that's an EQ setting I could get behind.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we don't just discuss these things, ad hoc, off the hoof. We're leading somewhere.
Exactly. It's all connected. So there are, again, like I said, a few options. You can just go straight into this by clicking the 1 player and doing that. I will just go through with a few options because they're kind of a mainstay of the back office of the game, if you like. If you choose tournament, you can add your name. You can choose your skill level between amateur, semi-pro, pro, and ace. And you can choose your match type as real or a specific number of sets, 1 set or 3 sets or real. And that means that you can personalize it and go through the tournament. You can also then select your potential location where you can then choose your winnings. So in those contexts, you're actually playing for cash. Now, I don't quite know what the accumulation of the cash really helps you do as far as the tournament goes, but all of those tournament locations and the prize funds are actually authentic to real tennis tournaments that exist.
Yeah.
Because there was 9 months of research that went into this, and all that data that you see inside of this game is all completely authentic, because that's the sensible way, isn't it? So it's the classic central tradition. The list is extensive, it's all well researched and accurate to the tournaments of the time. It's pretty cool. And there's loads of them. If you click in previous and next on that thing, there's loads of them.
Yeah, there is.
And you could choose from all the ones in Australia, then it moves to a different place. There's loads of them. I didn't realise that it was £1 million to win if you win Wimbledon, but that's quite crazy. So yeah, you can choose season, and you can give it your name, you can choose skill level, you can choose the kind of whether you want 1 set, 3 set, 5 set, I think, or matches and reality. And then you can actually either continue a season or start a new year. And you can actually, in this game, save your season. So you can save your progress if you're playing through a season as that particular player. So there's some longevity in it if you're wanting to do this as a kind of a go back to, which is quite good. Mm-hmm. And Sensible do always go in for these sports stats and these accuracy, and it later becomes very apparent in games like Sensible Soccer and further down the line other games that have mini stats that they collect. And if you think they even sort of bury that into other games of the type, so when you get to things like Cannon Fodder, there's still a kind of little statistics because the little soldiers gradually get sort of ramp up and level up as they go through, don't they, and get sort of higher ranks and things like that, and take it to Sensible World of Soccer and of course the leagues and everything. It's crazy. So now you can save your progress. I actually started a one-player game because it does advise to do that in the instructions, but the instructions for this are excellent.
Yes,
not only are they very well described and very simplistic, but they describe the process of understanding the game in sort of lessons of how to play it, starting you off by just throwing you in at the game and then sort of giving you the nuances, which is really nice. It's a lot of affordance to the player given there. So when you do start your one-player game, you can choose 1 set, 3 set, or 5 sets. Grass, cement, carpet. I didn't even know they played tennis on a carpet. I know I have before, and it's very skiddy on socks, I'd imagine. I know, I thought that. Or a clay court surface. I chose clay for when I played, but I did also try grass as well. And it does actually function differently. So they're not the same. The bounce is different and all sorts. Then after you've chosen that, and all of these graphics are on giant, big, bold screens. There's kind of a map in the background or an image of a tennis player. It's set in the background in a single color, and there's all the overlaid color on top. It's very simple to read. Can't really go wrong with that. When you do choose to sort of play the match, you'll see the first view, your 3D characters. So in this, you've got a vector triangle for a head and body and your racket sort of top. And then you've got vector lines for your arms and legs. And of course, the tennis racket stem, whatever you call it, the stick. And then there's the handle. And then you've got elbow and knee joints. So you've got a sort of a polygon figure, albeit quite basic, but it is there. And they are animating in a quite interesting way. They're kind of sort of almost semi-rotating. Now, it isn't, at this particular point, I was like, oh no, because they're quite big on the screen. And you've got the tennis court and sort of in the background. And it's basically a press fire to begin screen with the indication of your player one on the CPU and which variation you are. And I thought, oh no, this is the speed the game's going to be. I'm like, this is going to be a real pain. Though it's simplified, it sort of represents a bit of a brave foray into the 3D sports game space, which privy to this, I don't think there's really been. Maybe Leaderboard perhaps taps into that a little bit with its kind of viewpoint a bit. After that, you'll get the 3D image of the scoreboard. I have to say, I don't know what's going on with the vector lines in that, but the perspective kind of goes all wangy. And so the writing looks like the writing's kind of on the piss a little bit. So I'm like, well, maybe that's just it's printing it in vector. So I don't know how you do that. So all of this is complete vectors and 3D. None of this is generated bitmaps or anything like that. This is all vector from here on in, all of it. So the game starts with a 3D elevated view of your court. You are positioned at the front, your opponent at the back. You can switch views with the, I think, 1 to 0 keys for all the different views. Most of them are useless, I have to say. Pretty much loads of them are useless. And they're fixed views too. In the 16-bit versions, you can rotate the view to whatever you want. You can move the angle a bit like you could in the snooker game, the Jimmy White snooker game.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you could literally move around. I think you could use the mouse to do that. So you could use the joystick of the game, but move it around. I think that was it. You serve the ball with the press of the fire button, and to throw the ball up the air, and then I think you press it again to serve. I'm not sure. It might just automatically do that, but either way, you serve. Though the ways you control the game vary depending on the skill level you have chosen, the game kind of helps you out. So once you hit the ball, at that point, you can move your player around however you like because you've got control of them. As soon as the ball is returned, the game will try and line you up for the best return possible, and then your player will flash when it's time to hit the ball back with the fire button and the potentially joystick direction at the same time to angle where you're going to fire it. Now, this is actually nicely explained in the instruction manual, which, as I said, is split into lessons. So you don't need to try and over-control this, at least in the amateur modes. You just need to master the timing for your return choice and think about where you're going to put it. So in actuality, your opponent's side of the tennis court is split into a grid, which is represented in sort of 9 squares. And those squares represent different points of the joystick and then a center, so no movement of the joystick. So you've got 1, 2, 3, I think it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as if they'll be facing you on your opposition on the opposite side. Yeah. And if you want to position the ball, you hold down the fire button and move the joystick at that time when you're hitting it back, and it will position the ball in any one of those numbers. So, for example, up is, I think, 1 is top left, up is 2, top right is 3, right is 4, bottom right, and so on and so on and so forth. So it works its way around. And I think if you just press the button in the middle, that's number 5, which is pretty much straight down the middle into the centre court. It's the T point between the 2 boxes at the front. Yeah, absolutely. And your opponent will do the same. But you remember that the game does try and line you up. And there's actually a whole thought process behind that. This isn't some arbitrary thing. In the Sensible book, John Hare clearly explains that they actually thought, do you know what? We're kind of tired of tennis games that make the tennis too challenging and don't think about how a player plays tennis because you're too busy trying to position the man where the ball should be. You're not actually thinking about hitting the ball back. And tennis is a game about hitting the ball back, not about standing in the right spot. So they actually engineered this so that the game would help you get to the right spot. So you could then focus on playing the tennis and hitting the shot, which isn't a bad thing to do. That's actually quite an interesting idea. And it does make this game really, really approachable. So as I said, the opponent's half is, of course, is split into those zones, and then you play out tennis. They hit the ball, you hit it back. If you get the timing right, and the timing is kind of everything in this, because it is sometimes it is tricky at the start. I'll say that. So when it flashes, sometimes you hit the button and it's not good. It's just not doing it. And you're like, what's going on? It just takes time and practice. And the one thing about this game is you can practice as much as you like, and you will slowly start to get the hang of it. The logic is also the same for the serve. So when you're serving the ball, where you serve into, which is obviously on your opponent's side, but that's also split into a mini grid, so you can actually position your serve where you want it as well. Quite handy to know. And then when you get to the higher difficulty settings, now I didn't try these, but settings like Pro and Ace, you can actually add ball spin to this as well. So the ball will spin, so top spin and back spin. You can also, it stops the flashing, so you don't get the hints for when you're meant to hit the ball back. And it actually, so it doesn't disable the game. It takes some of the reins away, which is really great, because actually that then means that you're building up the skills to be able to play the game at that level. That is really, really good player affordance in anyone's book. But this is what Sensible are really good at. So there's some things I admire about this game. Considering it's vector and it's 3D on a C64, and that normally means it's horribly slow, and also it means I probably hate it. And I say it's not terribly fast, this game, but it's not terrible 1 FPS nonsense. It's playable. That's important. You can play a decent game of tennis in 3D, and there's a lot of thought gone into the seasons, tournaments, players, etc., which is nice. In what would become the sensible trope of league thoroughness, I think, under the hood, this contains a lot of information, and it's all in a single load. Got to admire that.
Yeah,
got to admire that.
It is, yep.
This also, as I've said a few times and alluded to, this also has extremely good player affordance, from the excellent instruction manual through to you getting into the game space quickly and creating a well thought out control and guidance system. All too often, these games are players waving rackets around meaninglessly at some button or possibly some button mashing, at least until they come of age with maybe the Sega titles that you've mentioned prior to this. Here, you have a helping hand that takes some of the logic from tennis and how players act and just nudges you along into it, allowing you to focus on the type of strike and return. This approach makes a lot of sense, and it's a kind of the heart of Sensible ethos. And their ethos is fairly simple, really, if you think about it. The game should be fun. It should let you in. The rules of the sport should be paramount, but not prohibitive for you to be able to play. And the settings should be correct with all of the appropriate details. Add to that, put the player at the center of the experience and let them enjoy the game. This isn't the best Sensible game by their own admission. John here states that this is a 5 out of 10. Not amazing, not terrible, somewhere in the middle. And they were happy with that. They were happy with that for the foray that it was. And remember, this was their first Amiga title and their first Amiga success. I think I'd agree with that estimation. I'd add a genuine love of the player there. Sensible games always want you to win. They want you to do well. They want you to learn. They want you to do better and save progress. And here we see the genus, what would later be embedded in many of the Sensible titles, even if this one doesn't have that classic Sensible look. So I liked it. I could get in, make choices, and get on with it. In the same way I liked Pro Tennis Tour, the 3D was interesting, not amazing, but it's very unique at the time. This is a baby version of the more powerful 16-bit, so this is not the optimal version, even though this is programmed by Chris Yates. The game is a tad slow, I guess. I don't think it's greatly affected the experience, though, not for me anyway. It does lack atmosphere. There's no escaping that. The Amiga version has got loads of that because there's loads of sounds and commentary and everything in that. But principally, the lack of sound here does factor into your ability to kind of thoroughly get into it, I suppose. It's a bit quiet, but tennis is quiet and generally sometimes, it's not like there's a rowdy rabble going on, but there is not a lot going on in terms of that. And there's no crowd to look at. It's kind of in sort of you've become very aware that you're in a 3D space and as a 3D person in this a little bit. But the animations on the little stick characters are really good all the same. And the details under the hood and the single load, I think make this a good proposition. There's a lot of game here under the bonnet. And the presentation, while simple and effective, I don't know, it's a good final farewell to the 8-bit for Sensible and kind of a parting reminder of how to make a game for the players and a taster of what they will always do, which is make great, fun games. What did you think?
Yeah, it's another month. It's another tennis game from Sensible, of all people. Who thought? It's a weird one, isn't it? Like we said, I thought let's a C6 with insects in space. So I thought we'd seen the last of Sensible Software, but it is what it is. No, they're still here. And it's interesting. It's vector tennis. And like you said, 10 different views of the court, some from miles away.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them which are just miles away, completely impossible to choose. Another one that only shows your half or the opponent's half of the court. It's like, this is of no use.
No.
No use. So basically,
Screenshot.
you kind of just use the default one, don't you? And that's it. But,
that's the one I used.
Yeah, but there is a very good game of tennis here, I think, with loads to do as well. All those tournaments, all that stuff you can do, all those, all these leagues, everything. There's loads and loads and loads to go at. And I know I said it last week, or the other when we looked at the other one, Pro Tennis Tour. But this, because of the control system, this really does feel like the precursor to Virtua Tennis.
Yeah.
Because Virtua Tennis uses that same way of just it runs for you towards the ball, and you've just got to get the timing right and the direction you want to hit it. So I can see that Virtua Tennis might have taken some, because this is really the first one to do that, I think, isn't it? Or did
I couldn't
did
find
the
any
Activision
others.
one do it ages and ages ago? I kind of think that might have pushed
maybe
you.
a bit. Maybe a
on
bit.
court tennis, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
a bit.
But doesn't obviously do it as well as this, and isn't kind of as advanced as this. The action may be a tad slow. I mean, it is, but the animation on the players is really well done. Once you get used to them, the bend of the back when they're doing the serve and stuff, and the running and the moving, and they've got a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, a sort of not a swagger, but kind of a weird walking pattern sort of thing. But once you get into the flow of this, I found us having really good games of tennis. And I was quite enjoying myself, and I was 4-1 down, won 6-4. I got the hang.
Nice.
I got the hang of it. I couldn't.
Yes.
It took me quite a while to get the hang of it. Then once I did, I was like, bah, da, and I was like, yeah, and I won a set. So I was quite happy.
Excellent.
And we saw like a decent tennis game the other week, but I'd say this is better. I would say this is a better tennis game in my opinion,
It's good.
because I found the other one just too tricky to get to the ball, which is the point you were making. And I think that's why Virtua Tennis was always so good. So many options there, and I like the arcade way they're presented. It's got that big, bold font, big, nice, simple. You just go through them, and everything's clear and excellent, and it moves fast. And like you said, a single load. All this in a single load. That's always a bonus. You just load this in, and you don't have to worry about anything else. And like you said, even change the roar of the crowd. That's quite unusual, but I liked it. Something I never played, wasn't even really aware of this game, if I'm perfectly honest, along with some very clever technical coding. What's not to like? Weirdly, as well, there's a parallel you could draw between this and Rockstar's table tennis game on the 360. Because Rockstar's table tennis game on the 360 was kind of their test bed game to learn the next generation after PS2 Xbox. So it was their first game, and it was they did table tennis. Maybe there's something in Pong type games to learn a new system.
Yeah, maybe.
If this was their first foray onto the Amiga. Doing that, it's a simple premise, isn't it? It's Pong, basically. It's called tennis, but it's that simple premise of we need to get two things batting back and forth. Can we get that done and learn that new system that way? The things it can do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Know, maybe there's something behind that with Rockstar's table tennis as well. But no, I like this. Was it worth its sizzler? Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's pushing the envelope a bit. This is certainly worth more than a sizzler than that stupid Castle 3D game, that Freescape game that we had in the last episode. And that score's principally the same sort of score as this.
Yeah. One's playable and one's not.
Yeah, exactly that. That's my point. So this just shows you that if you're going to give this probably could have easily been actually maybe even a gold medal, really. But it's still pretty good what it got. But I think it's like all these games that really push the envelope. They never seem to score quite what you expect in Zap, even though this is high. I would have just expected it to be like a little bit higher, a bit of reverie. It's really good.
Maybe. Yeah. There we go. That's International 3D Tennis. We finally found the best tennis game on the C64.
I think we did.
I think we have. Let's move on. We've still got one game this part, and let's see what that is. Well, it's a sequel. It's a weird one. This is Space Harrier 2.
Yay.
Yeah, it's $9.99. It's from Sega originally. And this is a sequel to one of its biggest arcade titles of the 80s.
Yeah.
Huge, wasn't it? In the and this is Space Harrier 2. Now, weird, this is a weird lineage. This did come to the arcade, but that's not where this game first originated. So this Space Harrier 2 was designed by Yu Suzuki again. This was one of the launch titles for the Mega Drive in Japan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In October 1988. That's where this originated. That's what research I dug up which showed
That's very cool. Very interesting.
Yeah, and it was also one of the launch titles for the Genesis when that launched in the US a year later.
Okay.
There was a weird period, wasn't there, in the 80s and 90s where the different names. Different names for computers between Japan and them.
Yeah, because what was their Genesis? Was the
Mega Drive.
That was the Mega Drive, wasn't it?
We got the Mega Drive, but then you had the Famicom.
Famicom.
Famicom, and then you had the NES.
And Super Famicom.
And then there's the Super Famicom, and the Super NES.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyway, I don't know why. Can you imagine if there were different names from now? You didn't get the PlayStation, we got something else.
Or the FM Towns.
The Sharp 687,000. Oh,
The
catchy.
Jupiter, the sword of Japan.
It could be anything.
Where's my 8-bit machines book? I'm sure we can find some more.
Yeah. And then after, so it was also put to the arcade in 1989 as well, along with, and most of the machines around at the time. It came to the 8-bit computers anyway, home computers. It's weird. But that's how we've ended up with Space Harrier 2.
Strange route, that.
In June 1990 on the C64. This was published by Grand Slam, and coded by David Vaut and John J. Scott. And the musician was Matt Furness. And the box art was by Steiner Lund.
Okay.
Lund, I don't know how you pronounce that. So, okay, first impressions aren't great. There's a not particularly great loading screen. It looks like you're being menaced by a female predator with a snake body for some reason.
It's a bit Homer's webpage, that loading screen, for me.
Yeah, it is. But there you go. You know, it is what it is. But then again, the original Mega Drive cover was not particularly great. Those old Sega covers were particularly bad around that time, I seem to remember.
Yeah, they weren't good.
They weren't good.
It's not good.
No. When the game loads, you get a title screen. It's a bit odd. There's some options, but you have to wait. So you get options, but
so
you have to wait for the high score table to appear, and then you get the options.
Yeah.
Just give me the options after that. However, speaking of the high score table, it does appear that the coders weren't happy with Grand Slam, as the names there are in there, and I'm just going to read this out. If you look at the letters, you can only put in 3, but the 10th thing is, and it says "Fuck you, Grand Slam. I hope you."
Oh, okay.
You could read that downwards.
They put that in, or did the crackers put that in?
No. That's the original.
Wow. Shocking.
Yeah, that's what I've seen anyway. I've read that somewhere, and I've watched an original non-cracked version of this, and it has them in there. And also as well, it's bugged as well, because there's loads of, I think this is quite buggy, this game, but on the notes in it, it says that the top score in the high score table is like over 6 million, and you can only get about 5. So I think they put it in there because they didn't want someone to do it anyway. So not since the despair of the RoboCop high score table have I seen the like.
No, it's pretty bad.
But, anyway, weird, isn't it? I don't know why they were angry
Very
at Grand Slam,
strange.
but they clearly were. Yeah. So in the options, you can choose to reverse up and down, which is, kind of nice touch. You can turn rapid fire off or on. I don't know why you ever would. You can switch between keys and joystick, or you can choose between music and sound effects. Once you've done this, you press fire, and the title screen, which is you're supposed to be in your base, I guess,
so.
because then your stupid, sexy Flanders of a main sprite comes running up. Into the sort of from the bottom, and then you can choose where to start from. He sort of stands on a little podium, a little sort of spot, and you can choose where to start the game. And it tells you that Fantasyland has fallen into crisis again. There is like a story in this about how the Dark Harrier has taken control and has imposed a cruel tyranny, and you must blast your way through the creatures of the Fantasyland and finally take the Dark Harrier down.
Right?
Who cares? Who cares? So as you stand there, the view changes and it's like you're looking out of a window into the game at the top. It's not actually a bad effect, actually. It does look like you're looking out a window. It's not too bad, really, because you can choose to start from any of the 12 available levels. So this has 12 levels and then the final Dark Harrier boss, and you can play through them from the one you choose. The levels are Stuna Area, Fours Yard, Yeesland, Zeropolis, Copper Hill, Falpyrum, Cradder, Monarch, Felcold, Hope City, Hell Peak, and Hot Palace.
Sound like train stations on the way to Edinburgh.
This is the 1214 to Dundee, calling at Stunner Area, Fours Yard, Yeesland, Zeropolis, Copper Hill, and we will arrive at Dundee at 14:33. Thing you'll notice here is that the bland and boring grey land from the first game has been jettisoned, and you're looking out on a stripy 3D effect.
Stripes.
There's still no checkerboard, but at least there is some sense of movement, which is that's what we got in the US version of Space Harrier, I think.
Yeah, we did. This is more like that US one.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, each level has its own colour palette and enemy types, and also its own load.
Yep.
And it's here that the bugs start to show. This is a buggy game. There's a lot of bugs in the crack I played sort of thing. They said, we've fixed a load of bugs. Right, okay.
Goodness me.
But the biggest bug I came across is that quite often levels would just not load.
Yep.
So it was always a bit of a crapshoot where the game would actually run when you selected a level. Stunner Area is the first one, and that's actually loaded in when you start. So if you choose one of the others, it'll load that in, or it won't. Who knows? But if you do make it through that, and there was no guarantee that the next area would load.
No.
It might not. Or should you get to one of the later levels, it may not load. I had one point where I was on the later, it didn't load the main menu back in, just stopped.
Yep.
So, according to the Remember version, I said, which we played, they fixed a lot of bugs. I can only guess this was not well optimized on release. I wonder if it was released in a rush and that's what led to those high score entries.
I suspect you're right.
It might be something along those lines. Anyway, should your level start, then we're into familiar Space Harrier territory here. You control our stupid, sexy Harrier character, fly around the screen, holding down fire to shoot into the screen. That's it. It's Space Harrier. You know what you're doing. You zoom about. Up is, the screen scrolls left and right a bit with you. We can fly or we can run if we go into the ground, onto the ongoing landscape. Stripy landscape scrolls towards and below us. Shortly, enemies and landscape objects will come sprite scaling towards us. You must try and avoid or shoot them as they go moving past you. Some of the enemies will shoot at you as you move, and you can shoot the bullets or avoid them. They're huge bullets as they go past. The game takes up most of the screen. Technically, I suppose it's fine. The landscape and horizon line move up and down as we fly about the screen to give a sense of perspectives. So as you go up, it kind of moves down, and it does that. So it's like Space Harrier. It's like the first one. At the top is the UI. It's got the score, like your lives, your number of lives left, the stage you're on, and the high score. And if you are shot by anything or hit by anything, then you'll be knocked out. You go flying out the screen and flying out to the ground, and you get back up again, lose one of your initial 5 lives. And should they all go, then it's game over. And hopefully, maybe the menu might land back in. You can get additional lives at every 10,000 points, though. You will need them because your lives go pretty quickly. The score is constantly ticking upwards. It's weird, just as you're flying. Shooting stuff. It's kind of strange. I presume that's like the original one. I honestly can't remember. At the end of each level is a boss that must be destroyed, and these vary from level to level. Some of them are multiple enemies flying about to single large enemies. The one in the second level is quite weird. It's like this big, tall, sort of female woman type. Well, I'm going to say it's just a person looks like a big dress. And it's got loads of spinny things around them. You have to shoot all the spinny things and then shoot them. It's kind of weird, but it kind of works. Should you make it through all 12 levels, then you get to face off against the Dark Harrier. That's it's a similar character to you. If you beat them, then you get it's a bit different, but they're kind of like a shadow version. Then you get a melancholic message about feeling an unbearable emptiness rather than the usual satisfaction at the defeat of your enemy, and then you leave the planet to fight on.
Chirpy.
I know, it's a weird game, this is. It's so weird. It's an odd release. I don't know whether this was all in the original stuff because I didn't look, but maybe Yu Suzuki was just like, I don't want to make this. And so this case is like, I'm leaving Space Harrier to move on because there wasn't another Space Harrier game for quite some time. I think it was Planet Harriers in like 2000 or something. Okay. So anyway, you can go back and listen to episode 45 if you want, when we reviewed Space Harrier, and pretty much everything we said there applies here. You lose everything when you strip this game down to the bare essentials, and no amount of stripy landscape is going to mask the rather thin gameplay on offer, which is what we said about the first game. If you put the bugs aside, and that's hard to do, technically, I guess it's pretty good. Some fast sprite scaling, and it all moves fairly fast. Although I did find that my bullets weren't fast enough to catch up to enemies flying away from me and away, which was annoying. So that's a bit of a problem. My bullets should catch them. And the music's not great. It's in the middle. It's not too annoying. It's not great. It's all right. It's okay at best. It's not. I didn't particularly rate it, but it's not. It didn't annoy me. But it's also to pay a limitation of the arcade and Mega Drive versions, which I guess is to be expected. Doesn't excuse their rather pointless port, which I think this is. Add to that the bugs and crashes, and it's not a particularly good release, certainly not for £10. Space Harrier didn't work on the C64. We saw that. We proved it in tests back in, 1986, whenever it was, or whatever it came out.
Certainly did.
Maybe 87. And this is just further proof of that. These games need more power that the C64 can really throw at them. And so I had a look at the Spectrum and Amstrad versions. They were pretty much the same, although they had the checkerboard landscapes, but they were still just as slow and boring. I didn't think this was particularly very good. It's just more Space Harrier on a machine that can't do it. There you go. What did you think?
Same. I'm not sure what the point of it was. I saw Space Harrier 2. I thought, I don't know. Is there anything more you can make Space Harrier 2 into? What is it? And I thought maybe I didn't know the lineage of it, but it's never an arcade I'd seen or any other version I'd seen. So I thought, okay, well, it is what it is then. I suppose, can you call them graphic improvements? I mean, it wouldn't be hard to improve on the first one, would it? I suppose the graphics are a little bit better. It's not saying much.
They are. Yeah.
But it becomes very clear very quickly that the C64 is totally out of its depth with a game like this. It just feels like a backward step for me, actually. Raster bar highways, we kind of done that ages ago. Badly animated enemies that fidget around, zooming in bad sort of sine waves with you shooting inane bullets. I found it was easy to just avoid everything by just staying to the left for a while on one of the levels where nothing bothered me. I was just kind of having a little fly about. Periodically, I was menaced by what looked like a stack of metal barrels, but I don't know what that was. The only thing I would say is the main sprite seemed okay, and at least it animated when you were on the ground and ran. Yeah. So, okay, it did do that. It moves okay. It controls okay. There's stuff to avoid. Not a lot of stuff, but there's stuff to avoid. It's just, I don't know. The music for me was just inane and forgettable. It's neither good nor bad. It's just right. It's not something you're going to remember.
No.
It's about as average a conversion as it gets of something that's got no passion in it. There's no passion in this at all. Nobody wanted to make this. Nobody cared. And it shows. So I don't know. This is just, if you've got no passion for something, you just, it's rote game development. They did it because they probably had a few weeks. It was a bit of money in the pocket, but there's absolutely no passion for this space era game. And I believe that probably extends right through to the original version. So the game's just a bit of an inane repetition of the first game. The first game was quite unique because of the time it came out and the brouhaha around its controls on the arcade. This one, without all of that fire, doubly so on the C64, totally out of its depth and just doesn't feel very good to play. It's not very much fun, doesn't sound very good, doesn't look very good. It's just very, very average and actually probably below average. So, nah, it wasn't for me, this. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy Space Harrier on the C64 either, so not for me, this one.
No, it got 55% in Zap.
Probably a bit high.
Maybe, yeah, probably. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. Space Harrier 2, sorry. You could be mistaken. It's just more of the same. That's it. That's it for this part. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go away. We're going to come back. We'll have listened to some music and we'll talk about that music because we need to know what was going on in the albums and single charts for June 1990. So please do stay with us. And we're back. So let's get some music on the go. Number one singles. Well, Graham, we heard it last week, and now it's into number one. This is World in Motion by England and New Order for the first 2 weeks. Yeah, well, the World Cup's... Is it on at this point in time? When did it actually start, the World Cup? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's on. Know. So World Cup, remember. Fever has gripped us all. Gaza in tears. Is it? I think it's that one, wasn't it? Yeah. I think it's a bit later, actually. Yeah. All the good stuff. Losing to Germany on penalties. Yeah, I found the video footage of that. It's quite heartbreaking to watch it back. I didn't care at the time. The World Cup, this particular World Cup stands as one of the most watched events in television history. Did you know that? Estimated 26.69 billion non-unique viewers over the course of that tournament. And I found the sort of various Google pages for all of that. I found a couple of weird... The hair was high on one of the football players. I didn't know who that was. I thought you might know. Well, on the left, that's Chris Waddle. Chris Waddle's hair. Chris Waddle's got a high mullet. He's got a very high mullet, yeah. Very impressive. And then it's got John Barnes doing his rap. We saw Chris Waddle singing with Glenn Hoddle, remember? Hoddle and Waddle. Now, the thing about this is I noticed that in the video, it's got New Order in it and the football team. Gaza seems to appear only in kind of overlay, which is weird. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because he was never taking it that seriously, so he was always messing about. That's the impression I get. So that's why it's just kind of footage of him not really getting it and badly mouthing the words. I think the only person who took it seriously is John Barnes when he did that rap thing. Oh, he does his rap, yeah. And then even then, there's an actor guy who seems to be prevalent in these things. It's Keith Allen, isn't it? Keith Allen appears, obviously the father of Lily Allen, but he appears in it and just sort of periodically just does lewd gestures. Did he write? Is he something to do with it? Did he just walk in one day and just could very well have done? I don't know. I think he appears on later ones as well. I don't know what. I think maybe he wrote it. Maybe he's something to do with it, isn't he? Because he's in the video for it. He is, yeah. I don't know. I know he's in the video. I don't know why he's in it. He released Vindaloo, didn't he? Wasn't Vindaloo? Wasn't that him? Possibly. Featured guest rap, additional vocals by several members of the team, and comedian Keith Allen, who had co-written the lyrics. Oh, there you go. That's why he's in it. I thought he might have done. Yeah. There you go. Okay, well, it didn't help us win, did it, the song? So. But singer Bernard Sumner described the single to Enemy as the last straw for Joy Division fans. Wow. Okay. Which you can see because all New Order fans they just hate this. Yeah, New Order fans who had come from that Joy Division period had seen New Order change into what the chase into, and then this was the final.
Watching him chant England, with John Barnes rapping over it. Yeah, not good, that is it?
Yeah, it's not good. No. If you after that for the final 2 weeks of the month, we had Sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's no sacrifice. And Healing Hands. Elton John.
Yeah, well, you see, now he doesn't do it at this point, but he gradually turns into a honker. He's got honk syndrome. Because nowadays he honks his way through it all. Because I watched him do a live version of I'm Still Standing at some show or whatever. He went, it's like he was playing one of them air horn versions. It was really weird.
He's doing that thing what Richie Sambora sings into.
Yeah, he just got honked. He's been honked. That's what happens.
But I always find it quite incredible. This was his first solo number one.
It's mind-blowing, really, isn't it?
Considering how long he'd been going. All the hits of the 60s. Was he 60s? Yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s. Tommy.
Loads,
Loads. So many. I can't figure out that he never had a number one until this.
Yeah, weird. Because I thought Pinball Wizard would have been a number one, but probably not.
Well, that's not him, is it?
He sings Pinball Wizard, yeah. Does he not sing that? I thought he did.
I thought it was The Who.
It's written by The Who, yeah, but I think it's the Pinball Wizard. I think he sings Pinball Wizard, doesn't he?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Anyway, no, none of them were. No, I thought sort of thing I'm Still Standing would have been.
Yeah.
You know, but I think he had a number one. Didn't he have the number one with Kiki D?
Don't Go Breaking My Heart, maybe.
I think that was the number one, but this was his only first solo one.
Yeah, he hogs that one out, doesn't he? And she's still singing. She sang really well when I last heard her. I don't know if she's still alive, but I'm assuming she is. And she sings really nicely. And he goes, it's just bloody honkers.
Oh dear. Number one albums. For the first 2 weeks, it was still Volume or 1990, A New Decade, Soul or Soul.
Well, the funny thing is, right, I actually entered that album title and their band name into a maths solution thing, and it solved their formula. It actually solved it. It was really, I didn't expect that to happen. So it just came back with this is the solution. So it's volume squared times year equals 1990 plus new decade times the soul squared. That's the answer. It totally threw me. I was just like, I thought I'd throw it in for a goof to see anything could happen. It actually solved it. I'm like, that actually is a solvable maths problem.
There you go.
How random is that?
I don't know. That if you actually if you've worked that out, now you've worked that out, you've got the power.
Well, if you say that,
that's the wrong band.
It is the wrong band, yeah. But if you say that, it does summon what's his name? The lead singer, not the lead singer, but the guy from the Soul to Soul, what's his name? Jazzy B.
Jazzy B.
Yeah. He comes to your house and says, "You've solved my equation. I must kill you now."
And then he does a drum beat at you. That's what he does. The Essential Pavarotti by Luciano Pavarotti.
Who else? Nobody else could do the Essential Pavarotti, could they?
By Rod
the
Hull.
Essential Pavarotti by
Rod
Hull and Emu. Now, Emu's version of that would be hilarious.
Very quiet. He was there for 1 week, and then finally, for the final week of the month, it was Step by Step and New Kids on the Block.
It was dread, man, real dread. To quote Predator 2.
Yeah, I need some.
It's truly
ganja.
dread, man.
I need some ganja, man. Let's get into some singles. 3rd of June. We've already spoken about this. No Sacrifice. In at number 26.
His hat either. I don't like his hat.
No, it's more soft cheese, as you've rightly noted.
Soft cheese, yeah.
More soft cheese. In at number 28 is Touched by the Hand of Chicolina by Pop Will Eat Itself. This wasn't good, was it?
No.
This is what happens when Grebos try to go mainstream.
It's not good. It's football related, isn't it?
It's really crap. It's really horror. Pure horror is what I've written.
Is it something to do? Which team is it to do with? Is it England again? I couldn't figure that out.
Who knows? No, it's Italy, I think. Chicolina.
Off the chart, crap chroma key as well, and a really shitty old song. Naff.
Yeah, awful. Really
awful.
Bad. Number 35 is Girl to Girl by the 49ers.
The 49ers, DJs Gianfranco Bortolotti, Lucia Cittadini, Diego Leone, and Paredes Rossini with vocalist Anne-Marie Smith.
Oh, spot the odd one out.
Italian house. Brown Sauce Gary was well into the Italio house sound. He would have been into this. I don't know if this was the greatest version of that. It is actually a pretty good post-disco type track, but he was well into this kind of sound. Still is. He still loves it, though.
You know, can't keep a good boy down.
No, he loves it.
In at number 52 is Shall We Take a Trip? Moody Places. Double A side probably by North Side. Is His voice is awful. This is Manchester. This is Crapchester.
That's one of my favourite terminologies you've come up with in ages. Crapchester. I love it. This is crap. I asked if it was Manchester. It is definitely Crapchester.
Yeah.
I hated it. It's horrible.
It is really bad. There's a lot of Crapchester around this time. Lots of it. In at number 55 is I Just Wanna Be Close to You. Maxi Priest.
Yeah.
Not our cup of tea. As you've rightly put, destined for the hour of shite in the Pier 39.
Yeah.
Any club you went to, any sort of towny club in around about this time, you'd get this.
Yeah, the hour of shite when the DJ's off for a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he puts his mix CD on. In at number 62, and that's Before Me Tea by Mr. Food.
No. Novelty song. Novelty song alert. This was a song that was played a lot on Steve Wright in the Afternoon back then. It was quite big capital when he played stuff on, because he had a very high profile, sadly passed away now, but had a very high profile radio show for many, many years. And Steve Wright in the Afternoon was a legitimate phenomenon on the radio at the time.
Yeah.
And this was played on that. And this is what happened when he played stuff. It became chart worthy and it entered the chart. Crazy. It's crap, but it's crazy.
Yeah. Who says white man can't rap? This has got more chroma key horror.
Oh, there's a lot of it this episode, isn't there?
There really is bad. I thought this was abhorrent.
Yeah. It is stupid, but it was never really meant to be released. It's just, I don't even know, maybe the money went to charity or something. I've no idea.
Maybe, can only hope. Now, this is weird. In at number 66, You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun,
you can't touch this. No.
I always thought this was in the 80s. I don't know why. I just always thought I associate this song with the 80s.
Well, I think it's because Super Freak by Rick James came out in 1981, which is principally this entire track.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably, yeah. But I just remembered this, MC Hammer being in the 80s somehow. But no, because he was nothing. Never heard of him before this, did you? No one had heard of MC Hammer really before.
No, it just came along as a kind of a sudden phenomenon, really.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenon. This was huge.
He was a massive hit. It's ridiculous. Which is odd because, I mean, he can't make any money off this track because all the royalties would have gone to Rick James. It popularised the dance. Well, it did two things. It popularised the dance called the Running Man, which you see him do a lot in the thing, which is also known as the shuffle or a shuffle, which has also given rise to a billion TikTok videos, YouTube short videos of dancers who seemingly wear very little to teach you how to do this shuffle. I'll potentially post a link in the show notes to it. I don't know if I'd really need to. Just YouTube shuffle dance and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
It also introduced giant baggy pants, which, by the way, are making a fashion comeback this year. Not that necessarily that big, but those kind of pants. Yeah, well, yeah. But maybe not as parachutey. You wouldn't. But those giant pants are
more kitey.
Well, more just baggy trousers, really. But maybe that's more baggy trousers by madness. But these were kind of they were parachute, but they were also looked like made of like that sort of tinfoil material that they used to wrap runners in at the end of a marathon. Like made of that.
I reckon they needed it at the end because there's a lot of dancing goes on in this video. A lot of high NRG.
It always looks to me like, because there was one point when they're going up a staircase, I think it must take you ages to go up a staircase like that. God, no wonder they're tired. Just one step up each time, just on one step, going backwards and forwards. I'm like, God, you're knackered.
Here, love, you coming to bed? Yeah. No. Oh, no, she'll be on that staircase for an hour. I go sleep.
Yeah. It's hammer time, all right.
Yeah. Number 90 is Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe.
Now, the only thing of note for this for me was that it's used, I guess it's the inspiration behind, sampled from, for the Pop Collaborate and Listen podcast, which is an excellent podcast, by the way, as you know, because you kind of put me onto it. But that is the kind of ding, 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 and that's the bit that's used for their podcast.
It is. You made a good note here that there's some serious ski coats in this video.
Isn't there?
Yes, very serious.
Isn't there? Now, it's an interesting thing. Well, I'll tell you what, it suddenly occurred to me, because we had two friends, we won't name them for this podcast because they're not nameable, but we had two friends who were obsessed with ski coats. And they always had a new Nevica ski coat. Every damn year they'd come round to the house and, they'd gone shopping together because they were good friends. And they bought side-by-side Nevica ski coats. Now, these ski coats weren't cheap, and these people didn't ski. So I can only assume they were into Belle Biv DeVoe, and we didn't know. So I'm guessing that's what it's about. Finally, we solved the riddle.
Absolutely.
Solved the riddle. You
should have put it into your maths equation. They would have known by now.
It still blows my mind that that actually solved. It solved the equation of soul to soul.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. It's been keeping me awake for months.
Same.
10th of June, Straight in at number 2 is Step by Step by New Kids on the Block. Step by step. Rubbish. It's just rubbish.
It is, but the hair height has gone off the chart. It's gone wild. It's loose. It's loose. This is free range hair height. It's gone mad. The height of their hair is off. It's crazy. I've got some screen stills that I've taken. We might try and get them into the show notes and so on. That is high, isn't it? That's high. I mean, that for one guy, his hair is at least 8 inches off the top of where his head would be. That's crazy high.
That one at the bottom as well that I've put in there just to add to it as well. It's what's going on? Also,
look at that.
I also wondered why jumping over drum kits never became a thing. There seems to be a thing to do, and also
dangerous.
More stair dancing seems to be the thing this month. MC Hammer's out, New Kids on the Block are on it. Stair dancing is the way forward.
Do they go to the hairdresser and go, "What style would you like, sir?"
High,
just up and high. Okay, how high are we talking here? Because we can go high. High. When I said high, I said high.
You're not a goth.
Goodness me. that ain't even backcombed, is it? That's natural.
That's not bad. It's just
me.
Yeah, they call it the shocked. I want the shocked. I want it pulling my eyebrows upwards.
One of them looks like Elvis if Elvis had a hair transplant with more hair. Weird. Very weird.
Oh, suspicious minds. Yeah. In at number 13 is Oops Up by Snap.
Yeah, this should have been left on the cutting room floor. It should have just been snap and disappear. This is terrible. Firstly, it's a rip-off of the Gap Band's 70s hit anyway, principally, which is Oops Upside Your Head. Secondly, for some stupid reason, nobody can explain to me, all the way through, someone's squeaking a dog chew toy, like, eat, 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 all the way through it, all the way through.
I don't know.
It's so annoying. So you listen to it going, yeah, eat, then eat. You're like, why are you doing that? Is sweet there? Is it an aubergine? It's weird. It's a crap track, but that's Squeak tipped me over the edge. Just like, no.
No. Maybe you'd like the next one, because at number 21, Nessun Dorma by Luciano Pavarotti. Didn't we have this last week or last year? Or when somewhere we had this? There's everyone just releasing Nessun Dorma.
Well, it was the song for the World Cup, wasn't it, on TV?
The football, yeah. So
Nessun Dorma, by the way, is an Italian phrase that translates to none shall sleep. It's famously known as an aria from the final act of Puccini's opera Turandot, or Turandot, if you're from around my way.
Turandot.
Yeah, Turandot, which was first performed in 1926. In the context of the opera, Nessun Dorma is the song sung by the character Caliph, who is a suitor of Prince Turandot. I'm not going into this fancy lingo pronunciation. You get what you get with me. The aria is powerful and emotional, apparently, and there's all sorts of other stuff that's into it. I don't go for it. No.
Arty crap.
Yeah, it is arty crap. Yeah, I like opera, some opera, but not this one. No.
It's just been done to death. You just heard it too much.
Yeah.
Unlike the next one, number 32. Whose law is it anyway? That's whose line, isn't it? Guru by Guru Josh.
This was actually interesting in some ways. I like the instrumentation and the arrangement, apart from that stupid saxophone sound. But I hated the vocals. The vocals kind of ruined it. This had a quasi-industrial vibe around it. If you listen to it, took out them stupid vocals. It's got very much a KMFDM type vibe about this track, which I found quite intriguing. But it does also sound like he's shouting Gibbons in there as well, which then sealed the deal for me.
Gibbons!
Really that. Gibbons! Hey, how are you? Gibbons! 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 Gibbons!
And at number 38 is Thinking of You by Maureen.
Maureen. You know, the nursery I went to as a kid when I was called Auntie Maureen's.
Auntie Maureen.
Auntie Maureen. Yeah, soul to soul variation, soul or soul variation. Passable, but it was another one destined for one place.
The Hour of Shite.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. In at number 44 is Hey Mona.
Mona.
By Craig,
yep.
by Craig McLachlan and Check 1 2.
Your comment on this made me laugh. It takes him a minute to change card. It does. It's so frustrating, isn't it?
It's just jink, 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 jink. Change chord. And he does at one point. He goes, jink, jink. I was like, oh, God damn it.
Is he borrowing from, George Michael, or did George Michael borrow from him?
I don't know who did what first sort of thing, but it annoyed me just from a point. You can't just keep the same chord for a minute. It just can't.
The lyrics are stupid, aren't they? This, I tell you, murder, what I'm gonna do. Jink, 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 jink. No, I'm gonna bend over and have a poo. Jink, 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 jink.
I don't think it says that, but
No, but yeah, you can insert your own lyrics. I noticed a couple of things. It's the man from Neighbours. He makes song, didn't he? He makes song. It's not terrible, I suppose, if you like it. But Mona, she's in the video. That's a big forehead in anyone's estimation. Sorry, Mona, but your forehead's massive.
It's an odd bod. That's an odd bod from Carry On Screaming Head. It does look a bit like that. I don't know whether there's been some stretching of the video frame.
No, I think that's how she appears.
Oh,
she's just a smaller face, larger forehead.
Yeah,
well, that's good. It's good. Everyone's got their own thing. Motorbike helmets, just not for her. Not for her.
No. Number 54 is Move Away Jimmy Blue by Delamitri.
Totes emotion. Did you feel the emotion? Oh, the emotion. I was crying for hours with lyrics like a struck match faded like a nervous laugh. The more you look at that mixed metaphor, the more you want to set yourself on fire with that laugh and that struck match.
We've said it before. There's another song destined for 1,000 British rom-coms.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
they must have made a mint out of Richard Curtis.
Exactly. Well, there's like a red phone on Delamitri's desk, and it's the Richard Curtis hotline. We've got a hard one for you.
Number 61 is Love Is by Alana Miles.
Forgettable, that wasn't it?
It was really crap. Again, just never seems to go anywhere. It takes ages. It's like you keep thinking it's going to kick into some kind of rock, and it does at one point, and it goes back. So it's the Mona thing. It's like, do something else.
What, you mean her one-note performances didn't thrill you after the last one-note performance song? There is two versions of this, Adrian, if it pleases you.
I watched them both.
There's the international version, and then there's the USA version in video terms, which features the award for the unusual use of an ostrich, I felt, which was because they race a horse against an ostrich. Why?
Why not?
What's that got to do with Love Is?
It's better than this bloody song.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it more interesting. That's the lengths you have to go to make an Alana Miles song interesting. Look, this song's so boring. Get an ostrich. We're going to race it against a horse.
There's a kangaroo
really?
as well.
Seems very niche.
There's a kangaroo in it as well.
Who's going to win in a straight line race between these three? What's this got to do with the song? Nothing to do with you, Alana. Don't you worry. We'll make the video great.
Absolutely.
Break out the bloody kangaroos. Goodness. Yeah, we're losing her.
What we got in the next one? We've got a duckbill platypus.
And it's fighting an ox. What?
Racing a Sasquatch. They don't exist. We'll find one. It's the only way we can make this bloody interesting.
Don't you worry about it, Alana. Just keep turning out the songs. We'll sort the videos out.
We'll make MTV want to play them because your music won't. In at number 77 is Blacker Than Black by Goodbye Mr. Mackenzie.
Catchy.
Yeah, I remember this track. This was the song that actually brought them to my attention back then. It was the first thing I heard.
Good video.
I went, oh, yeah, good video, good song. I quite like this one. It's a bit more better than the last few they've released.
Yeah.
Number 81 is Jealous Again by the Black Crows.
The Rolling Stones Light. Or the Tumbling Rocks, as they're also known.
Yeah. For me, there was not enough honk and too much tonk.
That's the description that's on the back of their tour t-shirt, strange enough. I agree with you, and I think that's a great comment. I think that's it. We just need to leave it there. That sums up the Black Crows so perfectly that there's nothing else you can say.
Nope, not enough honk, too much tonk. 17th of June is number 19 is You've Got a Friend, Big Fun and Sonia.
This is as bad as you'd expect. How to maximise the money spent on two derivative acts, get them to do some kind of duet. That'll work. This is a crappy song at best, Adrian. Heavy on message at worst. Of all the people that you would want as a friend, it would not be Poundland Kylie and the Automatons.
That sounds like a Jerry Anderson show.
It is, and it features them. Sonia and Big Fun in.
They do look like the Thunderbirds.
They do.
Except not quite as animated. Again, no fun to be had.
No.
Their name becomes more of a misnomer with every single they release. It's just shocking. Number 29 is Taste the Pain by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I hated this.
Yeah, it was really quiet. The video you found on YouTube was really quiet. I just turned it up loud and then I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, it reminded me of why I don't like them, actually. Because the Chili Peppers are a band that I feel like I always should have liked because they're kind of into the funky music and stuff, but I don't. I don't like them as people. I don't like the band. And I don't particularly like the music. Some of their best songs weren't theirs anyway, you know. So Higher Ground wasn't their song. It was Stevie Wonder, wasn't it? So in all fairness, this is just kind of, it's got that dibby dabby approach. It's like, oh, no, thanks. Dibby dabby away.
Yeah.
Away with you. Away with you.
Yeah, for every good song they have, they've got 10 of these.
10 sherbet dib dabs.
Oh, bog off.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly. And what's the bassist called? Flea, is it?
Yeah, exactly. In at number 30 is Treat Me Good by Yaz.
Penned by Gary Lineker, wasn't it, this? Looking, treat me good. All right, Gary, we'll release the song, but I'm not sure it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, true.
Dreary, isn't it? Dreary.
It's not very good.
No, and you can't, she's trying to quirky it up. Dancing, you know, out, cheeky eye rolls, but, you know, fleety glimpses and a bit flirty. We look at the camera. Doesn't help this boring song out of the gloom that it's in. It's a gloom spiral. You're done. It
is. Although, I agree with all that. The video, for once, has some decent chroma key.
Yeah.
And it also has some quite impressive screen splitting when she's dancing together.
Yeah.
Because they're overlapping as well, that's quite impressive.
That's proper stuff.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's quite... It seems like expensive stuff for a song this crap.
Well, she's got a twin sister, hasn't she?
She must have 4 of them. 3 of them.
Yes,
quadruple.
There are
quads.
Clones, Adrian. Have you not? Yaz is a clone. That's just Yaz 1, Yaz 2, Yaz 3, Yaz 4, and Yaz 5.
I thought you were going to say Yazoo then.
that's what a collective noun for a Yaz.
Called the Yazoos.
Is a Yazoo of Yaz.
And then if you want to call them, you have to go Yazoo-Lee.
Exactly. Well, that's the husband. That's the husband,
Yazoo-Lee.
Yeah, because Yazoo has to come first, and then they put their first name last. It's just their traditions. It's their way.
Brother to Bruce.
But anyway, yes, there's lots of them dancing together because they're programmed to. That's what they do. Like Big Track. What one does, they all do.
Forward 4, turn 7.
Exactly.
What's that mean?
That's how you program a Yaz. Wink at camera, do that kind of flirty eye thing. Go. And it all plays out before them. Very clever. It is very clever. It is definitely done based on that. You know.
What isn't very clever is the next song, which is at number 32. Is All the Young Dudes by Bruce Dickinson, and that picture of his face just keeps cracking me up. I have to stop looking at it. It's like what you find under a bridge.
It's like what I don't get about that is what pissed him off so much that he trashes a cafe. He just goes
angry middle-aged biker trashes greasy spoon calf.
I mean, the song itself, All the Young Dudes, it's a cover, isn't it? Obviously.
Yeah. Is it David Bowie? Is it Bowie?
It's David Bowie, and he wrote it, but it's a cover of Mott the Hoople, isn't it? But
all right.
But I don't think the song is actually about angry bikers trashing small town cafes. I feel that's a gross minimisation of the power of an actual song.
And he's dead angry singing at people just across the table. It's like, what? Bruce, calm down. It's not that song.
It's the way they drive from what clearly is an industrial estate in Scunthorpe through to the town centre of what looks like potentially Grimsby, barge into a cafe and just get angry with people who were just trying to have a cup of tea. It's like, get out. Get out, you greaser. Get out.
Stop looking like that. Get back under your bridge.
Stop looking so angry-faced at people in a cafe. I'm just trying to enjoy a sausage roll, you big meanie. Get out.
Oh, yeah, this was awful, but very funny. Very funny. If you watch one video from this month, go watch Bruce Dickinson, All the Young Dudes on YouTube. You will laugh. I guarantee it, because we did.
It is hilarious.
I don't know what they were thinking.
That face, that angry face is killing me. That is going on a mug. I don't care what anyone says. We're mugging it up.
I have to scroll the screen down. I can't keep looking at it. But then I'm looking at this damn thing. Because at number 35 is Rocking Chair by Magnum.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. This stupid thing. I mean, goodness me. I thought we'd seen these off. I thought the era of this was done. Because we've been saying it for, in the last few music sections, we've been saying, oh, this is it now. We know that Pearl Jam and Nirvana and
Soundgarden and all that lot.
Soundgarden. We've had a Soundgarden song. All of that's coming. We know that. And you think, well, can they release any other crap songs? And maybe they should just let it go. No, they're fighting there now. Do not go gentle into that good night, is what somebody said to them all.
Bring out more songs. Well, we know, because we've got something else coming up in a bit. But this is awful. And it's got lyrics like this. And it goes, oh, this is the chorus. It goes, oh, you better beware. Keep on rocking this house, baby. I don't care. Breaking out this jailhouse, going nowhere. it's called Rocking Chair, innit? I ain't ready for no rocking chair.
Oh, God.
It's just rubbish. Boys of Shakespeare, but, it's just dreadful.
Every single cliche you can think of is in that first 8 seconds. He's in rock stance from the second it starts, so his legs are at least a metre apart. That's the rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ripped jeans, wild hair, on a stage, weird smoky lighting, loads of backlighting, angry spinning guitarists, it seems, drummers that keep spinning their sticks for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't help you rhythmically at all. It's just a silly thing to do.
Yeah, women with their asses out, pressed up against the chain link fence.
Yeah. Everything. Every cliche, it's obviously it's like the cliché went, whoop, ping, there we go, you've hit them all, well done. You're right.
Bloody rubbish.
It's awful.
And it's an awful song. Just dreadful.
Yep.
And we keep going. Because at number 37 is The Victims of Success by Dogs D'Amour.
Something they could never claim to be.
No. Is this Diggy Skaggs Band?
It is Diggy Skaggs Band, yeah.
It is the ones, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Just before he sings this song, he gargles with some drawing pins just to give his voice extra gravel and extra crackle. Awful song. Horrible.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah. It is rubbish. Number 43 is the great song of Indifference by Bob Geldof.
Yeah, I'm not a Geldof fan, but it was good if you went with it. And I suppose.
I don't mind if I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an Irish folk song or whether he's written it. I don't know that because it sort of sounds a bit like both.
It does. It's very. This reminded me very end of a folk festival track to get everyone up and bouncing.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be a set ender, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you sort of start off slow because it starts off slow and then everything comes in and builds up. I thought the video was quite good. I like the way he sort of ages through it and gets more sort of rowdy and scruffy.
Yeah.
I quite like this song. I thought it was all right.
It's good if you go with it. It's all right. It's just I don't know. I don't know where I sit on the Geldof fence. Really.
No one does. It's the last place you want to be. But however, at number 46 is Brother's Gonna Work It Out by Public Enemy.
Yeah, that is a real classic track by them, and a massive reminder that I don't know if you've ever, I know you've seen Favour of Black Hat, but I don't know if people listen to this. I've gone and watched the film Favour of Black Hat, and you realise exactly, crazily how close that actually gets in terms of its sort of Mickey take tracks to these kind of things. Mm-hmm. This has got Flavor Flav in it, of course. I don't know. I don't know with Flavor Flav. I like the idea of having a Flavor Flav in my own life. I'd like to have one that I could just bring out, and just a guy that's got a crazy big, overly big sideways cap with the largest peak on a cap I've seen in many a time.
You'd always know what
with
time
giant,
it was.
wearing giant clocks. But I don't know, he does bring something. Is the Bez of Public Enemy. He brings something to it, doesn't he? Whatever that is, he brings it.
He does. I mean, I don't know enough about rap to know whether that's true or not. This song is really good though. And it's obviously it's on message again, and I like his. Is it Chuck D? Is it Chuck D rapping in this one?
It is Chuck D.
Yeah, Chuck D's rapping in this is really good. His voice doesn't seem like it should be coming out of him though. He looks all nice, and then that voice is like really powerful. Like, oh yeah, it's good. It's a good song.
It is good.
I'm not, as I've stated on this podcast many times, not particularly a rap fan, but I did like this.
Rap fan.
Yeah, I'm a rap fan, just not a rap fan. But this is the point. This is the point I was trying to make the other week about how I don't like the rap that's all about how much money I've got and all that kind of shit. And I live in this thing in opulence and all that stuff. Rap should be angry.
It certainly is that.
Yeah, 24th of June. But then again, I have no right to say what rap is, so it don't really matter, does it? 24th of June is number 21 is Another Night by Jason Donovan.
Is this the most confusing start to any video, Adrian? I think it is. It's a contender, isn't it?
I was very confused. I don't know what was going on.
I was struggling to understand what the hell is going on and why Jason Donovan is on a tugboat in some kind of commercial port, then seemingly in some kind of post-war Her Majesty's Customs queue. Is he meeting someone off that cruise liner who's waving at him? Then why would he be waiting dockside at the equivalent of Immingham Docks, which is a commercial port, in some kind of warehouse? Then amongst the endless footage of people looking through luggage and crates, he finds a 1940s bicycle and walks off with a woman with it at the end, all in sepia. I don't get it.
No, I don't understand. I think there was an idea that just didn't quite come. I just wish a giant squid had sunk the boat.
That would be good. Someone do that.
Good. Yeah, someone do that. But Graham, it's your favourite at number 24. No. It is Unskinny Bop by Poison.
I can't explain how much I hate this song.
Is it because it's got really lyrics like this, Graham? Like gasoline you want to pump me and leave me when you get your fill.
For God's sake.
Is it because it's got Boys of Hemingway?
Everything about it. That annoying guitar riff. It's like, oh my God, what is going on? It's like someone's, I don't know, it's like his brain's been taken over by a thing on a spring. And it's just, it's like, it's like I don't know what's going on. And his vocals and the song and the way he looks, everything that you could possibly really dislike about that hair metal thing is amalgamated into that one song, that one look, that video. It is crapola. It's awful. It's bad for a Poison song. And they're not famous for being great.
No.
Not in my book. I mean, there's people who out there probably like Poison a lot, but this is not their finest moment. I think everyone would agree on that. It's an awful thing.
It is worth watching for the bit where he rises up to start singing.
Yeah, I forgot about that when he does that. For some reason, he's introduced into the song by being reversed. So he does that sort of Nosferatu thing where he sort of appears, it's an empty stage and he goes, oh, it's really weird. Why does it do it? It's really odd. It's clearly reversed, but why?
Yeah. And then you get those awful sort of animated women next to him at the chorus.
Oh, God's sake. Unskinny, but, just no. What's it even mean? Go away song and never come back.
Yeah. This was the point. I remember us hating this at the time, really hating this.
Yes,
this would lead to Ugly Kid Joe and shit like that.
Well, I think, do you know, if I actually think back, I remember an occasion. It may have been the first time I even heard it when you and I were in my bedroom, and I think we were watching Music Box or whatever that equivalent show was, and I think it might have been Raw Power at the time.
Yeah.
And this came on it, and we were like, "What the hell?" And I'd been listening to a bit of Aerosmith at this time because I'd seen by this point. I think I'd got Permanent Vacation, but this kind of started to seal the deal off, and I was starting heading more into a different territory at this point, really. So I was starting to drift towards really heavy industrial type metal and stuff like that. This was seen off, and it was kind of a good parting shot because, no. We in our original band, we had band members that would have liked it, and that tells me that it's a good job we got rid of them. Yes,
yeah, it did. I moved on to different things. Yes, indeed. In at number 32 is Love Don't Live Here Anymore by Double Trouble.
I thought this was a piss take, but it's not, is it? It's serious.
I don't know what it is. It's got funky flute though.
It has got funky flute. It's reminded me of a kind of British new form antics. I'm not sure if that's good or not.
More fun for the Irish shite.
Yeah, it's Irish shite, that. Totally, yeah.
In at number 40, She Comes in the Fall by In Spiral Carpets.
Not my thing. Reminded me of Haircut 100, Fantastic Day.
Yeah, I can hear that. I didn't mind this. I don't mind the song. It's all right. Certainly not crap, Chester. This is okay. Number 41 is Almost Hear You Sigh by the Rolling Stones.
It's not a good song. Not a good song
No, it's not. Hardy Stones, Polymer Records.
Hardy Stones, Polymer Records.
For me, there was not enough honk or tonk here.
No. Again, good review of that album, I think. Dreary, isn't it, that, for a Rolling Stone? They all look bored, and I don't think they were in the same place at the same time when they made that. Don't
film the Rolling Stones in black and white looking all meaningful and arty.
No.
That just doesn't suit. They're not that band. That's
they're
not the Rolling. That's not the Rolling Stones.
If you stood them all in the line in black and white, they look like a petrified forest.
They look like the background to that Blondie album, Parallel Lines.
They do. Yeah, they're very thin and willowy.
Yeah. Number 44 is Nobody's Child by Travelling Wilburys.
Yeah. Sounds exactly what you'd expect it to sound like, considering who's in that band.
I mean, I'd noted sort of thing that when watching this, I realised that surely 5 guitarists is too much for any band.
Yeah, they take it in turns, but they call their turns a Wilbury. So...
Is it my turn to Wilbury? I want a Wilbury. Let me Wilbury.
No, it's your Wilbury. Is it? So you got, what's his name? Let them pay the rent. That guy, whatever his name is. Times They Are a Changing guy, whatever his name is.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan's there going, can I have a Wilbury? No, sorry, mate. It's my Wilbury.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on. We're all the travelling Wilburys. We can all have a Wilbury each. All right?
Only the leader who's holding the Wilbury can Wilbury. Exactly. And then they pass the Wilbury on.
Pass the Wilbury.
That's what they call the plectrum.
So when they first signed their record contract, they had to sign the Wilbury rules. Are these real? Are these actual rules? Yeah, of course they are.
They are now.
Now, be a good Wilbury and sign it, will you?
Absolutely, yes. And then maybe one day we'll pass you the Wilbury and you can have a Wilbury.
What is a Wilbury? In the cupboard, in the Wilbury cupboard, you'll find out. Up you go.
Absolutely. Roy's in there. Can't see you, though. Yeah. Number 45 is Psycho Funk by the Booyah Tribe.
That's a good track, that is. Classic sort of hip-hop stuff, really. Brown Sauce liked that a lot, as I recall. He'd probably correct me and say he didn't like it at all, because that's the kind of crazy fool he is, but I don't believe him. I don't believe anything he says.
I'll tell you what.
Turns out he's a massive liar. It's not really. But I think he did like that one. I remember it. And it's sort of his vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, not so much the look of the band with the the giant size and the big dreadlocks, but because Gary did try that for a while, didn't he? Dreadlocks. It didn't work out well for anybody.
Gary with dreads.
Yeah, dread man, real dread. Yeah, he just kept getting caught in brown sauce bottles all the time, and it did his head in.
Absolutely. Gary, put the Wilbury back.
Well, he realised quickly that they actually use beeswax to make that, don't they? Not brown sauce. It might mess with his head, didn't it? Stunk.
Yeah, for weeks on end. Sauce dreads. They're never good. In at number 50 is Wild and Wonderful by the Almighty.
It's not Almighty at all, that one.
No. My comment on this is that pub rock that someone drunkenly signed up.
It's totally that rambling crazy, wasn't it? Who are they? Where do they come from? Get out. Get out my pub.
Get out my pub, yeah. We're not leaving until someone signs us up. Sign them up.
Sign them up. Give them a Wilbury. Get out.
Absolutely. Just let's get through the albums. There's not much to talk about this month, but in at number 2 is Between the Lines by Jason Donovan.
Yeah, so not very good. Stockachen and Waterman produced stuff. More guff.
Yeah.
That was his last album he did for them, though.
Yeah, I like the fact he said he had more input with him and his management requesting material that's more within his vocal range.
Yeah, that's the last album he did with Stockachen and Waterman.
That's always a good thing, though. Can I actually sing this?
Yeah, and like, of course you can. Cancel his contract. No more Wilburys for him.
In at number 4 is Natural History. This is the very best of Talk.
I don't know much about them.
No,
not my thing.
No. Number 11 is The Greatest Hits by the Bangles.
They're contractually obligated to release that because the band had broken up at this time and they had an album deal and they didn't have an album for the final album of that deal, so they had to release this as their contractual obligation, which finished them off for their record company. They were then taken off Columbia Records at that point.
There you go. Number 18 is Hell to Pay by the Jeff Healy Band.
Oh, yes. I didn't know a lot about Jeff Healy until I read.
Is he the guy that plays the slide guitar flat because he's blind? Is that him?
Yeah, it's him. Yeah, he's in Roadhouse. Roadhouse. No, he's in Roadhouse. He actually had his eyes removed surgically because of cancer, and he has an ocular prosthesis instead.
Wow.
Plays
a mean slide guitar, though.
Amazing that he plays the guitar the way he does after going through all that. That was as a child he had to have that done. So.
Yeah. And number 22 is Pod by the Breeders.
4AD label thing, wasn't it?
I thought this was. Way earlier. Engineered by the late Steve Albini, who passed away recently.
He did. Thing.
It's got Kim Deal on vocals, Josephine Wiggs on bass, Brick Wolford on drums, and Tanya Donnelly on guitar. Came about when the Pixies, when Kim Deal, I think they were either touring something, and Donnelly was throwing Muses during a European tour. They sort of formed a band together in '88.
Here they are.
It's a bit of a sort of indie rock supergroup almost.
Yeah, I listened to it. I don't know it's my thing, but maybe it's yours. But it wasn't bad. It was okay. It sounded good for what it was, just not my cup of tea.
I mean, they'll hit big a bit later on, won't they, with Cannonball?
Oh, of course. I knew there was a big track by them. I couldn't think what it was. Yeah.
That one. In number 27 is One World, One Voice by One World.
This is weird. It was created as a chain tape, which was started by Kevin Godley, I'm guessing of Godley and Cream. And then that multi-track tape was sent to various studios around the world where local artists added their contributions to it. So I guess it's a big charity record, I think.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Number 49 is Amarok by Mike Oldfield. So the interesting thing about this, you've noted here, so it was an angry protest album, Graham. Did you get that from it?
No, I didn't get that.
No.
I listened to it. It kind of gave me 90s arcade in a duet with a banjo player who was angry about maybe something else.
But this is something that me and Gary used to laugh about because we read that he'd gone on a protest by living in a tent in his back garden. And I realised we had this conversation and we always found it funny, and I was wondering about now, and then I read, because this is a protest one, and I found out that this was around the time 1990. I found an interview where he's saying, and there's an interview for him where he's being interviewed, he goes, I'm living in a tent in the garden at the moment as a protest against electronic music.
What a weird thing to do.
That's Mike Oldfield for you. It's not much of a protest. No. Mike, do you want your tea?
I'll also put the link to the YouTube video, which is ironically a 2000 digital remaster. Kind of undoes all of his good work, doesn't it? Right there.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Mike. Didn't mean to do that.
Sorry. In at number 4 is Other Voices by Paul Young. 10th of June. We're on to 10th of June. In at number 4 is Other Voices by Paul Young.
He's back, the honk. Fourth studio album by Honky Honkerson. I don't know. It peaked at number 4. What can you say about it? It's a honky album, isn't it? So full of honk. Don't mess with the honk or you'll get the bonk.
You will. You get the tonk.
You will.
In at number
There's
5,
no tonk in this one. It's all honk.
it's all
no
honk,
tonk.
no tonk. Yeah.
It is, yeah. This is all the honk. Yeah.
Number 5 is Home by the Hot House Flowers.
So this was criticised in the Los Angeles Times for having too much gospel-influenced rave up in it. I didn't get that.
No.
I don't know what I got, but I didn't get that.
No, I'm not sure I got gospel influenced rave up. My ideas of a raver, yeah, what you've written.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Same.
Who cares? This rubbish.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Fox Flowers.
I don't know what it is.
Number 16 is Gold Mother by James.
This is a band I like, but I don't particularly like this album by them. That's not saying it's bad. It's just I prefer some of their other stuff.
Yeah, I think they get better as they come along. But there's some good tracks on here that we've seen recently. Come Home and How Was It For You, which are good tracks. And there's some stuff like that on it. Number 22 is Stray by Aztec Camera.
No.
I didn't know they were still going by this point.
4th album. Can't be stopped. So,
good old Roddy Frame.
Yeah, I don't think it's his greatest album. The 4th albums are always a problem, aren't they, for Aztec Camera, turns out.
I guess so. At number 29 is Hearts and Flowers by Joan Armour Trading, the 12th studio album.
I know. Bit of a crazy good songwriter, isn't she, Joan Armour Trading? I don't know. I wasn't listening to a lot of it at this point because this is kind of, there was a certain type of demographic that listened to this stuff. I'm not criticising them. It just wasn't me. So.
No, not me either. Nor was I listening to number 52, Enchanted by Mark Almond.
Totally missed that whole Northern Soul thing, really, for me. Bypassed me completely. Talented guy, amazing talented guy, but just not my tempo, that.
No. 17th of June, in at number 2 is Summer Dreams by the Beach Boys.
Compilation album.
With every track you probably expect on it, I'm guessing.
There's compilation of their compilation albums.
Wow, that's quite impressive. What you will get, though, at number 14 is Waiting for Cousteau by Jean-Michel Jarre. And Gary rushed out and bought this. And I remember him coming home and listening to it. Blip, 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 blip,
yeah,
blip,
it's
for 46 minutes.
Was it what he thought it would be? I don't know. Maybe it was.
You had that Calypso 1, 2, and 3, which were rubbish.
Yeah.
And then you thought, the big track, he's got a 46-minute track because he's got CD and he can release it on CD now. And he's like, blip, blip, blip.
Yeah.
Blip.
I remember scouring that CD that Gary bought of that with its DDD on the back, wasn't it? That little symbol going, wow, it's digital, digital, digital all the way. Thinking that really meant something. It's like, it's not going to mean, it doesn't mean diddly squat.
Nope.
So it was digitally mixed. It's stupid. I don't know. It's not an album I really rate, this one. Maybe now on reflection. I spent a lot of time listening to Jean-Michel Jarre's entire back catalogue, and it's extensive because he's done loads of albums, loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of them.
Yeah. This is rubbish.
It's not good.
I listened to this today. Well, I put on a bit of it and flicked through it and realised it's blip, blip for ages.
Yeah, blippy bloppy.
46 minutes.
It is, but you know what? That it's of the Vogue, wasn't it? That kind of ambient sound, that ambient music was very of that up and coming of that time. It totally didn't do it for me.
Even
Gary, I think he didn't
Brown
dig it.
Sauce didn't like this. When you know Brown Sauce Nut's like in the Jean-Michel Jarre album,
I wonder on reflection what he thinks of it. We'll have to ask him.
I think I have asked him recently and he still doesn't like it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a big fan of it. You can let us know. Let us know, Gary.
Well, he wrote to Jean-Michel Jarre, didn't he? And expressed his anger to him.
Yeah, he said, I'm coming to get you in Rambling.
And it does.
Number 17 is Chimes by Chimes.
This is weird, very weird. I didn't get it, not my thing. Maybe it's good somewhere, but not for me.
No, not for me either. It does feature Pauline Henry on vocal, the album, including the cover of U2's I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Yeah,
do you remember it? I think we listened to that. We had it on the singles a while back. And we didn't like it.
No, we did not. Number 25 is The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, 1990 version.
Yeah, it's a reissue of the album, but with 5 bonus tracks.
Okay, nice. Number 44 is The Same Sky by Horse.
This was weird. It took me a while to find out who Horse MacDonald is. And when I did find out, I was like, oh, that's Horse MacDonald. Totally forgettable. Never heard of her, never will.
No,
apparently amazing. Apparently amazing, but okay.
Not for us.
Still going.
And at number 47 is I Give All My Love to You by Keith Sweat.
Yeah, American R&B stuff.
Yeah.
Totally destined for one place.
Yeah, right.
Aye.
24th of June, and at number 1 is Step by Step by New Kids on the Block.
4th studio album.
I don't get it.
When did they do it? When did the other 3 come out? I've only what A? I read that. I was reading. I was like, oh, 4th studio album. 4th.
I think we saw 1, But they must have not gone
that's
anywhere.
A lie.
They must
But
have
they're
not
not the
gone
new
anywhere.
kids then, are they? If this is a fourth album, they're not the new kids on the block.
They're the old kids.
Exactly, bloody liars.
Number 9, Wilson Phillips. Wilson
Debut
Phillips.
album. Debut
Yeah.
for them. Good stuff.
We talked about the single the other week, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Hold on, whatever it was, yeah.
Number 23 is A Night on the Town by Bruce Hornsby and The Range.
Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. It's the only song I know by them, and it's the only one I ever will know.
It should have been called Death of the Meatballs.
It's full-on meatball, isn't it?
Yeah. Because obviously, clearly they've realised that the time for the meatballs has ended. So at least they've done a decent thing and released one last album.
They could have called it A Night on the Brown, couldn't they?
You could have called it Campbell's Serenade.
Could have, yeah, I guess.
Anything really, but Night on the Town. Number 55, finally, is I Fond Kiss by Fairground Attraction.
Yeah, it's a Fairground Attraction. I don't like them. I don't like them.
No, we don't. We don't like them.
No, I still think of It's Gotta Be Perfect, and I still think of Tweaky's version, and it was better. So.
Yeah, true. And there we go. That's all your music for this week. There's been some, well, to sum it up, not enough honk, too much tonk.
Very much so, yeah.
Indeed. And there we go. So there we go. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We've still got 3 games to get through. So, if you like some of those 64 games and you like us talking about them, best off staying around. And we're back. We're back for part 3. 3 games to get through. Let's get to them. Graham, it's time for you to scramble spirits.
Oh dear, £9.99, 44% though. This was published by Grand Slam. Copyright Sega. Okay.
Again, they must have had some deal with them.
Well, developer was Tiki Software.
Oh.
And this is the coder is John Scott. He did Zybots.
Oh.
Yeah. The graphics are Mark Potenti. He did Tubin. And the musician Matt seems to be very busy at the moment. Furnace. He did the Shoe People and Space Harrier 2, as we mentioned earlier. And the box art is, of course, Steiner Lund. I think we mentioned him as well before, or them before.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Scramble Spirits is a vertically scrolling shooter game released for the arcades by Sega in 1988. Yes! We have once again entered the dusty, cobweb-filled halls of the Arcade Obscura and pulled out Sega's answer to 1943.
Yeah.
In Japan, Game Machine listed Scramble Spirits on their November 15th, 1988 issue as being the second most successful table arcade unit of the month.
Wow, second. That's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe. It depends what else was there in that month, doesn't it? At the beginning of the 20th century, this is the bit of the blurb. The world was ravaged by a global nuclear war. Miraculously, humanity survived the devastation and partially rebuilt civilization. The world order has been restructured as a unitary system, a central supreme government with smaller rebuilt regions of continents as its states. Then one day, an urgent news reached the headquarters of the central supreme government that its smaller states came under fierce assault and were occupied by mysterious enemy militaries. The Group 1, an elite Air Force squad under the central supreme government's command, dispatches 2 of their ace pilots to destroy the mysterious enemy. That's the blurb. That's the arcade blurb, principally the same for this. The blurb is actually a bit less for this. So on the C64 count, the gameplay involves navigating the aircraft through a series of increasingly difficult stages, each filled with a variety of enemies, planes, tanks, ships, and ground defenses. Players must skillfully maneuver to avoid enemy fire while simultaneously attacking to clear the path ahead. A shoot 'em up is what we call that. The game's controls allow for movement in all directions, which is nice, firing the plane's primary weapon and releasing bombs to target ground-based enemies. A notable feature of Scramble Spirits is the ability to pick up power-ups, which enhance the plane's firepower and add extra lives. Additionally, the game occasionally offers a 2-player cooperative mode, enabling friends to join forces and tackle the enemy together. Okay. Each level is divided into 3 sections. The first and last sections are in the usual shoot-'em-up format. In the middle section, inexplicably, you zoom in closer to the action. For example, you attack a warehouse or an aircraft carrier, and you have to cause as much destruction as possible in this section, unlike in the other sections of the game, where a hit means immediate screen death. Here, a hit only paralyzes you for a short time, so you miss targets. At the end of each level, as is typical for this genre, there is a boss you have to defeat. Your ship fires 2 types of shots, straight shots that can hit the air targets and bombs that hit the ground targets and land at a distance in front of the ship. That's how it plays out.
It is.
Starts with a jaunty start, I guess, for the arcade with lots of text on the screen. There's the Grand Slam logo, the Tiki logo, the Scramble Spirits writing, and a whole host of coding credits, graphic credits, licensing credits, and a scoreboard that will flip between those 2 things. It looks just like an arcade. It doesn't, though. Doesn't. It's not very nice. A bit drab. Funny I say that, really, because the game itself is a drab-looking slab of 1985.
That's what I've written.
Boring slabs of grey scroll slowly, but smoothly, I guess, from top to bottom as you fly around in your horrible blurry block of pixels in a vague aeroplane shape. Enemies will flutter on and flutter around, sometimes in patterns, sometimes not, as per the usual for this kind of game. You can shoot at these. There are also things on the ground you can bomb. Principally, most of the game graphics are that kind of horrible chunky base relief, but in this instance, not very good base relief. And with a heady mixture of blue, grey, white, and brown to play out as a 4-colour palette. Not very nice, that. Not very nice colour choices. As you fly about, you can collect power-ups. As I said, that will give you extra mini airplanes, so that's what they're supposed to do. I never got hardly any power-ups my entire playing of this game.
You have to shoot the big helicopters.
I tried that. They seem rarer than rocking horse shit and very difficult to do. And it's also an oddly challenging game, but not because it's a shoot 'em up that's difficult, because it's boring and you don't want to do it. You're like, oh, I just don't want to do this. So even if you get the power-ups and they do give you a little extra airplane, and you can make the airplanes, interestingly enough, go lower. So they can all be in a line and you can fire at the same height, or you can lower them and they'll shoot or go on the ground to sort of shoot the ground targets. All right, that's more of a novelty thing for the arcade. It tries to do this on the C64. But by this point, you'd be overwhelmed by the slabs of grey boring that are scrolling across the boring game of the boring. You encounter bosses at some stages. The boss I encountered was a thing that split into 4 equal parts. Wasn't very exciting, and it was grey. It all plays pretty much as you'd expect for a top-down shooter of this type. It is principally full screen, the game, I guess. I'll give it that. And the UI, such as it is actually an overlay at the top of it, which just gives you the score an L3, L2 for your lives. Not very exciting, that.
No.
As a game, it lacks any real passion and fun. The arcade isn't great, which I had a look at, but it's colourful at least, and has some of the usual Sega pizzazz about it. So it does have a little bit. It's very much a 1943 variation, but it's colourful enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is a block-based relief fusion of dreary soundscapes and dull, uninteresting backgrounds by comparison. It is doing nothing that a game like Black Hawk wasn't doing better, and that came out in 1984.
Yeah.
Indeed, that had better sound and more colour. This does have a few moving things around the screen, I guess. No real bugs, maybe. I suppose you could say that. The middle zoomed-in sections are really crap, though. It goes from horrible blockiness anyway to really horrible blockiness with a resolution that must be something like 110 by 100 pixels or something worse. It's not good, that.
No.
Never zoom in like that. Ever do it. Just don't do it.
Very expanded.
Very. The controls are responsive, I guess, but the real issue here is the dreary nature of the game and the lack of passion for this conversion that oozes from every dreary second and every dreary corner of this game. Grey and brown sprites on grey slabs with horrible blue CFX, horrible yellow deserts when you get to that point. It's clear that this conversion was created with no real intention of doing anything other than what was necessary to call it complete and releasable, if you can call it that. An unexciting, uninspiring, dreary, colourless, sonically flat, muted, heartless, passionless, tonally adrift piece of full-price garbage that brings nothing to the table other than what a limited colour palette and lower resolution can look like. No. Did you like it?
No. My first comment is, what year is it? What year? Are we back in 1985? Because that's where this looks like it belongs. And then you mentioned Black Hawk. I'd forgotten about that. And that's way better than this. This looked like a shoot game.
Worse. Shoot games are better.
Yeah, but it had a bit of a looker one, like someone just drawing the graphics, and not very good one. We've had so many good shooters on the machine, so many, and then they released this for full price. Just naff sprites, rubbish sounds, boring shooting. And as we've said time and time again, and as you rightly pointed out, a shooter should never be boring. Not ever.
No.
And this is. The C64 is deserving it better than this. I suppose the scrolling is smooth, and there's a fair bit of moving about on screen, and, it's full screen. I suppose technically it's all right. The lack of music really hurts this. It's really... we've said, just look at Light Force. Imagine Light Force without music. It'd be dead boring, but it's got music, so it's not boring.
Yeah, Warhawk.
Warhawk, all those kind of things. And the end boss to level 1 is so boring. It's this big thing where you have to shoot the red bit in the middle to push it up. I played the arcade version, and it's over in like a matter of seconds. It's very quick to do. Blah, 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 done. This takes forever, because you can only get like 1 or 2 shots at it every time, and it barely moves.
Awful.
Yeah. This also as well lacks the arcade version is portrait mode. So it's much taller than this. And this is squished and squashed and blah.
Yep, not nice.
So it may be like the arcade game, but it lacks what little fun that offered. The strafing run across the carrier, I thought was blowing up giant Maltesers as well. When I zoomed in, everything zoomed out. And I was like, what? So I played the arcade game, and clearly they're tanks and helicopters and stuff, and you're doing that. They're just like giant Maltesers. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, just no.
There are better shooters than this on the machine. So many better shooters. Buying this, £10 would have been quite the mistake. We've seen loads of budget shooters that do a way better job than this.
Yep, go and get one of them.
Just go get one of them.
And a lot of those full-price ones that were great back then, probably all on budget now anyway, so go and get the budget games.
Yeah, just go get Light Force. It's way better.
Yep, it is.
And Warhawk, like you said, they're all way better. or
Yep.
Terra Cresta, Slap Fight.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
bloody
Any of
loads of them.
Yep.
Don't play Scramble Spirits. It's crap. There we go. That's that one. Let's move along. We've still got 2 games to get through. And well, next up, this is Carrier Command.
It is.
This is Carrier Command. Okay, this was $14.99. It got the 2/3 score, 64%. So what do we say? Is it any good? We're not sure. Just give it 2/3. And to be honest, I can't really blame him. I'm not sure what to make of this. So this is Carrier Command. It's from Rainbird. And this is, another odd one like we had with Space Harrier 2. This is a belated port of the 16-bit versions that came out in 1988. So 2 games I've looked at this week, and they both originally came out in 88, and they're the belated ports. So, but those were 16-bit games, and they were quite the release back when they came out. There was quite a bit of brouhaha and woo and woof when they came out, because they featured some pretty impressive, for the time, 3D graphics that kind of showed the power of the new machines. They were one of those first wave of like, look what they can do, the ST and the Amiga over the older 8-bit machines of the day. And, they did. It was quite impressive. So 2 years later, this is ported to the Spectrum, Amstrad, and C64 to varying levels of quality and ambition. And that is why we have the C64 version to look at here. So this was coded by Tim Walter. You may remember him. He did Dogfight 2187. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It's not great. It's got graphics by Ross Harris. That's close, isn't it? He did P-47 Thunderbolt. Your favorite? That's some of your favorite graphics.
No, it's not.
Upside down mountains.
It's crap.
The musician here is Tim Walter. No idea. And the box art is by Herman Serrano.
Hey.
Yeah. There is a story to this. And it's very hard to find the C64 instructions for this game. Really hard. I scoured around. I couldn't find them. I found the Amiga ones. So the story in there takes about 4 or 5 pages in the lengthy ST and Amiga manuals. They're lengthy, but it's actually pretty simple. So I'm going to sort of paraphrase this. But according to the back of the box, it says strike, attack. This is the C64 box. It says, from the depths of the ocean, vast energies force molten lava to the surface, leaving volcanic islands to cool in the steaming waters. This new land offers a rich supply of elements and materials exhausted elsewhere on the planet and vital to continued life. It is no surprise to learn that a foreign power is attempting to occupy the islands and grab the resources exclusively for themselves. Carrier Command. Now take command of the latest multi-role assault carrier. Let battle commence. Remember, this is the C64 version. Fly high-speed strikes against enemy forces. Pilot powerful amphibious tanks into combat. Customize your tanks and planes. Choose from a massive variety of weapons from the carrier stores. Zoom in on your maps to plan the campaign. Spy on the supply lines of the enemy. Defend the carrier against relentless attack. Carrier Command, the game of a lifetime. Keep that in mind for this. Keep that in mind for the C64 version. Okay. So this game sees you taking control of a large aircraft carrier called the Epsilon, and you've basically got to move in and take control of a number of islands. I think it's 64 in total, in an archipelago. These islands have just appeared, all this lava and whatever, created these islands, and you must secure the precious fuel. Oh, it's precious fuel.
Precious fluid.
There were actually 2 carriers sent, though. There was the Epsilon and there was the Omega carrier. The Omega one, though, has been taken over by the evil Stanza organization. And they have threatened that if they do not receive $15 billion within 72 hours, then they will turn loose the Omega to take over the islands itself for their own nefarious purposes.
Okay.
So that's what you've got to do. So essentially what this game is, there's 2 carriers in these islands, and you've got to take over the islands while they're doing the same thing. Okay. So the game loads. It's got a decent loading screen of the cover of the box. And I just want to come back to the box as well. So the back of the box is one of those things where it's festooned with images of the ST version. Now, it's normally not too bad, because usually the ST versions and the 8, they're kind of similar. But here, well, we'll come to the issue with the problem here, because the back of the box has full-on 3D visuals.
It does.
Lots of pictures of it.
Yep.
So we'll come to why that's an issue a bit later. So then we get a pretty basic title screen. And at the top of the screen, it's sort of split into 2. We see a top-down view of our carrier at the top, and there's some options below that. There is strategy, action, or load. So I guess load an old game. And it's accompanied by an annoying tune that feels out of tune.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure there was parts of this that were not in tune, but anyway. The strategy option. So the two basic options you got here. Strategy option lets you start the game at the very beginning. All 64 islands of the game are neutral, and the whole game is ahead of you. The arcade sees you start in the middle of the conflict. Lots of islands already being controlled by either force. So it's whether you want the long game or the short game, essentially. So you pick one. Otherwise, aside from that, they play exactly the same. I don't think there's any other differences between the two. So we'll just go as if we're selecting the strategy option. That starts the game and stops the annoying music. And we get greeted with some information at the top of our screen, basically the status screen, which shows our present score, the time elapsed, the number of friendly islands, and the number of enemy islands, and a row of icons across the middle of the screen in delicious C64 brown. Brown icons.
Brown, I say.
They're so brown. So this is where, without proper instructions, things might get a bit muddled, but I did kind of work out what they all do after some trial and error, so I'll try to explain what goes on here. There's a lot to control, and each icon usually leads to a nest of further icons, so it's trying to figure out what you can do, and what you can always do is not always the most intuitive way you can do stuff. You have to press icon to come back to a screen to do another icon. It's like, okay, a bit of I got my way through it, but I'll try my best to explain what's going on. So the first four icons you've got are your craft. So you've got the aircraft carrier, and basically each one will take you to one of those things. So the second is for your recon drones, which you can launch. The third, you can launch all these extra things from your carrier. The third is your walrus amphibious tanks. And the fourth is your manta attack aircraft. Okay. So they're what you've got. Next along on the row of icons is a joystick, and that takes you to the craft you have presently selected. So if you're in a manta and you've come back to the option screen, you can press that and it will take you back to it. If you're in the whatever, to do that. The next icon is the map icon. So we'll talk about the map in a minute. Then we've got the status icon, which we've already said. So that gives you the status of the game and how much time is going on. Then we've got the carrier inventory selector, which shows all the inventory of weapons and all that kind of stuff that you've got on your carrier, which you can load, obviously then load your things. And finally, then we've got the messages icon, which just gives you some, the walrus has done this, the carrier is under attack, one of your walrus is that, so you can check them. So selecting one of the four craft buttons will change the icons both to the right of the status icon and along the bottom part of the screen. This is where it starts to get complicated. You have to do all this with the joystick as well. So I'm just going to say, so if you select the drone, this lets you launch one of them. So you get an option to launch a drone, which then allows you to see what is on each island or in the waters in front of you, or basically it'll just fly off. I couldn't control it, but you just flew off. I tried to, but I couldn't. So that's what it does. So basically you view, and I'm going to come to the view, the actual what you see of this game. Remember, the 16-bit versions and every other version is 3D. Selecting the walrus option changes options along the main road to let you equip the walrus with various weapons and objects, which allow you to take control of islands and start building factories and the like upon them. Because that's how you do it. So you're building stuff on these islands, try and turn them into your own stuff, which then generate weapons that you then, because you've only got a finite amount of weapons on the carrier, you need to refuel, rearm as you go around them. And that's what you do. So down at the bottom, you'll see a couple of a plus and a minus icons. And you load it up by pressing the plus and minus icons that have now appeared at the bottom, and then drag. So that selects your different weapons. And then you move your icon, you drag a weapon into the walrus. It's got a couple of open slots, and one's big and one's small. You drag different weapons into those slots. And one of them, what you wanted to do is like these, I can't remember what they're called, but these pods, which you then drop onto the islands to then start the process of almost like terraforming the island, basically, building stuff. So once you were happy with this, you can launch the walrus by clicking on the icon with it's like an arrow coming out of a brown square to the right. This will take you back to the main screen with the carrier at the top. Then you press the launch walrus icon, which is like the walrus coming out of the carrier at the bottom, and that will then launch it off. You can then, it'll just sit there behind it, won't do anything at this point. You can then go to the map screen, and because you're controlling the walrus, you can basically zoom in. You've got like the map screen, it's like a grid. I think it's an 8x8 grid or 6x6 grid or something with all the dots. There's like loads of little white dots on it, and those are all the islands that you've got to take over. So what you can do is you can move around, you can zoom in with wherever you press your fire button, it sort of zooms into that area. And what you do is you can press the space bar, and that will give your walrus or whatever craft like an autopilot, so go here. So then you can go back to the main screen, and you can press the A icon, and the walrus will take off and head to where you've sent it to. Okay. You can then, if you click on the walrus icon on the joystick, it will then, the view will switch to following the walrus as it moves along its merry way. You can at any point click on the joystick and pressing spacebar you can then take control of the walrus if you want it to, and you can move it yourself. So you can take control of anything as you're doing. And remember, you can have you've got 4 walruses, recon drones, and you've got 4 manta rays. You can have them all launched off at the same time, going in different directions. You can plan them all out. So you don't have to launch. You can set them all off. I think you can do them all at once. You can just head them off and off you go. So you can do the same with the manta aircraft. They can be loaded up with weapons and launched in a similar way. They're either pre-programmed, fly somewhere, controlled yourself. And the game goes on like this. So basically what you want to do is you want to take one of the walruses onto land, because it's the amphibious one. So it's like a hovercraft, I guess. So you take that onto the land, and then you drop the pod, and then that pod starts doing stuff on the island. You start building things, and you carry on. You move around, and you take over island after island after island. That's what you've got to do. So you progress across the archipelago, and that's the whole point of it. The controls are not particularly suited to a joystick with the icons, because icon switching and having to move an arrow around to select them. It's not too bad, though, once you get used to it. Although this comes from the 16-bit, so it's never going to rival a mouse. Never, ever on the 16-bit machines. We've seen this before with joystick-controlled mouse pointers. They're never the way to play these. But here you've got lots of icons to clicking back and forth, pressing space to do stuff, to flicking between things. You can get a bit sort of, it's too many icons. I am wondering, could they have used some kind of keyboard shortcuts to speed up the process? I'm thinking they could have. Maybe they did, but I pressed everything and only managed to pause the game with F1, so I don't think they did. I think it is all icon-driven. But I'm thinking that they could have put some keyboard shortcuts in, and that would have made it easier, flicking from, W for walrus, M for manta, and that could have helped it a bit. M for map. So the entire conceit is identical to the original games. That's what you did in the 16-bit games. You flew around, you did stuff. The main thing that has been changed here, and to note, this is just for the C64 version, is that all the impressive 3D elements, they've all been ditched. It's all gone. And what we get here is a top-down view that resembles a number of the less impressive top-down 360 shooters that we've seen. The whole spectacle of launching mantas and walruses in 3D is now gone, and they've been replaced by a simple single sprite and some blue and green areas for the seas and the land. And this all takes place at the top, in that top half of the screen. And so all that kind of splendor is just gone. So, and to come to my point about that box, which has all those 3D shots from the ST in it, this is quite the come down. This is, the point is here is that you're promised ST screenshots, you're thinking, oh my God, that looks amazing. And hopefully the C64 is going to look just as good. No, it's not even close. And I think that's real dodgy marketing. It really is. So yeah, now the Amstrad and Spectrum both worked in full 3D. So they had all that 3D stuff. And maybe they're better at handling that. And indeed, those versions are held in high regard on those machines. But here, the impact and the overall feel of the game has been changed completely. And so that's quite the kick in the teeth. It becomes just something that looks like Zed or Time Pilot or games like that. It's just a top-down 360 scrolling thing where you're moving around to take an island. And okay, it's not that to say this is a bad game. Once you do get used to the controls and the icons, you can flick around fairly well. But then it all gets a bit dull. And with bitty sprites and a bit of scrolling, and there's a bit of scrolling raster flicker underneath the view as well, you realise that a lot of the appeal of this game was the impressive visuals and the feeling of playing something very advanced. It was one of those games at the time in 1988, it was like, wow, this is like the future. Look at this 3D stuff. Here in 1990, top down, not very good, doesn't look as good as something like Z from 1985, 86. It doesn't look as good as those kind of games we saw back then. And so it's just a bit of a come down, and I'm promising those visuals on the back. I don't know. There may be an interesting strategy game under the hood here, but sending out the walrus and the manta, it soon becomes very tiresome. And it just gets boring when you're just trying to, all there is, you strip away that finery. We said it, this is the same game, the same as what I said about Space Harrier in the first half. You strip away the good stuff, and then you realise that it's just a bit boring. It's just a bit dull because it's repetitive. We saw it in a very similar game. Was there that Corporation? That feels a bit similar-ish.
Yeah, resource management game. But that was okay. That was
okay.
Weird, but yeah.
So it's not this terrible. It just gets very dull. And the Zapped review, I think, for one, I thought was bang on the money for me. They said the same thing. Once you rip out the visuals, you realise it's quite boring. There's little to hold the interest here after you've taken a few islands, and without those impressive visuals, it soon gets really dull and just awkward to control. So I didn't dislike this so much. I think it's terribly missold with the back of that box, which annoyed me. And you just, this isn't Carrier Command. It isn't the game that all the other machines got. Even the Amstrad and Spectrum got the 3D. Now, it may have been slow, and they may have gone, we can't do this on the C64, but if you can't do it, don't do it.
No.
You can't. This is a a terrible, a pretty harsh deport, probably the harshest we've seen. And I think for that, yeah, doesn't matter what the game is like, it's not the same. It's not the same. What did you think?
Same. Principally the same. A weird thing with horribly discordant music as well.
Yep, told you.
Nobody likes a brown user interface. Certainly not me. It's designed for mouse control, isn't it? It's designed for a different computer. It's designed for a different computer that controls differently with completely different ways to do UI, completely different interface. It's not designed for a C64 in any way, shape or form.
Nope.
So their answer to that was to recreate it in a way that they thought was more palatable for C64 owners. But then why festoon the box with all the 3D? It's just a rip-off. It's not very good. I never liked Carrier Command on the Amiga, and I did have this on the Amiga. I think everyone did. I think it was issued to people at a certain point. And I remember the one quirky thing I remember is that you had missile sort of camera, didn't it? So you could sort of fire a missile and follow it with the camera. I remember that. I clicked around a lot when I played this, navigating the various rows of yellow and brown icons. Clicked around. All I could hear in the soundtrack was explosions. I'm not sure if that was me or what was going on. Couldn't really get anywhere for it. When I finally got through the nested crazy that is all the options, I wasn't impressed with what I got. It wasn't worth the bloody effort. No, I'd rather not. I think of games, top-down shooty games like Mutants, or what was the Thalamus one that we released that was amazing? I think of those top-down shooty games. Hunter's Moon. I think of those. I think of all the colour and the pizzazz and the sounds and the everything that goes with it. And I look at this brown base relief fiasco and I think, why would you even pay 15 quid for this? You have to be absolutely off your rocker. Mm-hmm. No. Egg of the dog of the highest order. Crap. Just don't release it. Don't feel you have to release it. But don't release it.
Yeah.
Awful thing. Bloody awful. I hate it when they do stuff. We had another game that was, I can't remember what it was. We had another one, didn't we? Where the C64 version was a top-down version of the Amiga one. Can't remember what it was now.
No, I can't remember.
Work. But either way, it's just a rip-off. I don't think it's a good thing. And 15 quid's a stupid price, no matter how many books they give away with it. So no, get lost. Rubbish. Not my cup of tea anyway.
No. There you go. Carrier Command. Missold and a misfire.
Misfire, yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Right, there we go. We've still got one game left. Graham, it's over to you to take us out once again on the ocean in Powerboat USA, Offshore Superboat Racing.
Yeah, they went a bit sort of catchphrase, didn't they, for the title in the UK? Powerboat USA Offshore. It's called Heat Wave in the US, that.
Yeah.
Which is a better name for it, albeit that it's literally nothing to do with it. It has machinations of a Miami Vice vibe about this, so it tempts. But I don't think it really works, and I don't think it's a bit late to that party anyway, really. This was published by Accolade. It was $9.99 according to the price tag. 54% though. That's low for an Accolade game, isn't it? Coder was Lisa Mendoza. Graphics Grant Campbell. The usual Accolade gang, actually. Music was Paul Butler. I'll get you, Butler. And so, okay, this is a blurb. I'm not going to go through the whole blurb because it's extensive and watery and it goes on for ages, but I will just give you the beginning bit. I had to divert to the manual for the Amiga of this because I couldn't find a C64 version. There's a version of the documentation in the actual game, don't get me wrong, but it reads the same as this, which is done by the Cracking Group. It says, I wanted the boat to project an exotic image, kind of like a 959 Porsche. I want people to look at her and be aroused. That was by John Johnson, the star of Miami Vice. He said that apparently about his custom-designed Scarab 43 Superboat. Most people at 45 miles per hour will say, this is fun, this is getting interesting. At 55, they start looking around, and at 60, they're asking themselves, what am I doing here? 65, 75, I'm in control now. 85, oh, look at me. Oh, is this cool? Is it? Am I cool? Am I? At 65, they want to get out. And when you hit 70, sheer terror sets in. That was Todd Owen, owner of a 41-foot Apache Heatwave, as quoted in USA Today. Speedboat, speedboat chatter, isn't it? Speedboat, it is. It's totally total speedboat, man. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be strapped in front of a pair of supercharged Lamborghini V12 rocket launchers? Can't say I have. No. How about planing, I guess, across the Gulf of Mexico at 100 mile an hour, kicking up a monster rooster tail that can be seen on the beach, maybe 5 miles away? Imagine, no traffic, no cops, no conscience, just you, a few fish, and about 11,000 pounds of screaming muscle boat built of space-age metal alloys designed to run about 1,300 horsepower at open throttle. This kind of machine that guys like Don Johnson, star of Miami Vice, might take out for a spin in the Offshore World Championships. For real speed freaks, Hoisting a spinnaker on even the fastest 12-meter yacht causes shrieking boredom. You need huge, throbbing Mercruiser 420s that eat a gallon of gas every 3/4 of a mile. 3 of them wherever possible, maybe mounted on a Kevlar hull. You need Speedmaster drives and hydraulic steering systems. You need a little thunder on the water. Welcome to Heatwave. Wave. It's a speedboat racing game.
Yeah.
It's test drive, but for speedboats primarily, really. So it's boat drive, which does not sound as exciting as Powerboat USA, I'm sure. Superboat racing, I'll grant you, nor is it quite as interesting as Heatwave, but it is just boat drive. And so this starts with a decent title screen, I guess. It's a variation of the Amiga, giant powerboat writing, checkered flag, accolade logo, slide it in, slide out. Boom, there we go, done. The music here is a weird quasi-Terminator chase sequence style thing. God knows where they got that from. Weird it is.
Yeah, don't know.
When the game finally appears, you get kind of almost an Apocalypse Now type view of a jungle in the background. And on top of that, there's a menu, which you've got several options. You've got the sponsors buffet or the game credits. Select your boat, select your course, registration, pit stop practice, time trials, course fly through, drivers meeting, the race, winner's circle, exit to basic. Those are your options. And you can do all the things you would expect to be able to do in a game like this, you can do. Now, I have to say, Adrian, that I don't know a lot about speedboats.
No.
So when it was the selection of choosing from the speedboats, I think there's about 4 or 5. I don't know. Is the Cougar Cat good at being a speedboat? I guess it is, but it's one you can choose from. So you go to choose your boat, you can choose your boat. You can just go straight into a race. You don't really get to pick your boat as such, but you can just go into a race to get the feel of the game works. I did explore some of these options to get a feel for how they work. Everything's kind of a load in this game. Not a big load, but there are loads in between stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose your kind of boat, and there's the range of different courses you can choose as well. They're all kind of based around sort of Miami. There's Miami, and there's loads of extra courses around there. They're all in little stages, and there's quite a few you can choose from. It's meaningless to somebody that knows nothing about speedboats or speedboat racing at all. I know nothing about it.
No.
So, but this is kind of a Formula One equivalent, I guess, ish for speedboats. All right. So what little I know about speedboats, we've exhausted. I know even less about speedboat racing courses. Head to the pit stop where you can add gas, propellers, shaft, and all that kind of thing. Sounds very important to me. No idea what I'm doing. Clueless. Completely clueless. The instructions do give a lot of this information out there, but I didn't want to read them. I thought, because I know what's going to happen. I knew what was going to happen, Adrian.
What was going to happen, Graham?
All the options were leading me into a false sense of security because I knew that this game was going to be pantaloons when it came to the actual race. Because it's a bit of a trap they've fallen into. Lots and lots of options and lots of, I wouldn't say pizzazz, but lots of choice. Choose your boat, choose your race, this, that, and the other, all the options. Okay, there's a little bit to go at. And then when you finally get to the race, and I started it into practice, the race screen is split into 2. You've got the UI at the bottom half of the screen, which is your boat. So you've got your speedometer, your other dials, your engine temperature, your left and right fire, your status of your bilge. I'm guessing it means stuff, the timer of your race, the directional compass. So that's the bottom half. And then you've got 3 options you can choose from there, which is 1 for navigation, 2 for timesheet, 3 for damage. And then you've got a speed indicator. To start your engine, you press the return button. Engine starts, and then after that, it's control with the joystick. Forward makes it go faster, and boingier. Backwards slows you down, less boingy. Left and right is left and right, obviously. The top half of the view then is where the race kind of takes place. You've got what is essentially buoys either side, which are at paced intervals, which simulate a kind of raceway that you have to navigate through. Similar to the way a road might work in a race game on the road, only this time, of course, there is no road. It's just blue. We've seen this kind of done before in another game.
Loads of games.
But it's it is what it is. So once you start racing forward, the buoys then formulate a road and will zip left and right, as in you have to make turns and you have to go around a track, or as I say, go around a course.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is. There is a little sort of white flickery effect on there to make you think that you're in the water. Excellent stuff. So the buoys zoom towards you as you zoom forward. So it's to simulate the kind of effect of speeding through the water. And I said there is a ripple effect. If you press 1 for navigation, you'll be presented with a load of text, which takes you out of the game, completely stops the race, and it takes you to the game where you've got a map on the left-hand side, which shows you where you currently are. And then you've got the buoys and the feet that they're at in terms of distance and the direction they're at and the deck. I'm not sure why that's even relevant. Do you need that? It didn't mean a lot to me.
No.
You can check your times. For those people that really want to check the times, if you press that particular option for your timesheet. Again, these are just what would you almost call character graphics on the screen of text. So these are not graphically pretty. They just do what they do. And when you go to check damage, it's essentially the same as the pit stop screen. It's just, obviously, you can damage your boat. How do you damage the boat? It's a frigging mystery to me. I don't know. I overboinged mine.
Driving to the buoys. I damaged mine.
I over-revved my engine, and that blew my engine up, so I had to disqualify myself out of the race.
Yeah.
And I was in a practice mode. I did that. I hit the buoys. I overboinged, essentially, I guess. I don't know what the official term for that is, but I boinged my boat to death. Anyway, I did those things. So very quickly into the course, I was zooming around what is essentially a very windy thing. The turns are sharp and difficult to anticipate. So in other words, you're flying about and flinging about. There's no nuance, really. Then annoying beep sound started. No idea what it was alerting me to. No idea. Should I have emptied my bilge? Is that something you need to do in a speedboat? No idea what I'm doing. Check the damage, and I was over revving, like I said, slowed down a tad, and then it told me I wasn't revving enough. I don't know, I got confused at that point. Then more alerts started sounding, and then it started bouncing up and down like I was on some kind of kangaroo thing, like kangaroo hop in. I don't know what I was doing. Slowed right down to a stop, and that stopped. As soon as I sped up, it did it again. Something was wrong with the engine. No idea what. And then when I looked at it, it turns out I'd got 3/4 of the way around the track, and I wasn't even sure I did that. I'm like, how the hell did I even do that? There's some nice graphic details here and there with this, I guess. Presentation's okay. Not up to the usual accolade standard, but it's not as bad as a D-port has been. And this is a D-port, make no mistake about that. But this kind of game, after the options and the selections, it kind of lives or dies on the implementation of the actual race. And it's just not very good here and not very good fun. There's some interesting items, but most of them aren't present on the C64 version for obvious reasons. The Amiga version, for example, is 3D in places and has a lot more control, and it's a lot more interesting to look at. The C64 version obviously does not have any of that. It tries to play to the C64's strengths by turning this into more of a test drive kind of way, but it's not very good. And we've seen Accolade do a lot better than this with race games. They probably could have done maybe a 3D version. I don't know. There's also less Powerboats to choose from. The C64 version only has 4. There's not as many courses as in the 16-bit versions. Obviously, the bigger computers, I guess, in terms of their capability and disk storage and all that. But I don't know. It's a bit disappointing. I don't know. You can get into it maybe, but the issue for me is always the issue that you always come up against in this is how it plays on the C64, and it's just not very good. The way the buoys zoom kind of creates that raceway effect. It's okay. They do move fast, but it doesn't feel like you're zooming around on the water. It just feels like you're hovering on some blue. And even with the kind of bouncing effects, and you get like a little effect in the background. There is like a background, as in the tradition, like a cityscape in the background, and it does kind of have a little bit of movement. It adds to the ambience. But they've attempted to do that. It just doesn't quite work. It just feels like this is underwhelming, a bit over-egged in terms of its setup and underwhelming when you get to the final game. Something that we never had a problem with in some of the other Accolade titles of this sort of type. It reminded me of the Live and Let Die game, actually. And while that was daft, it did a better job of doing a powerboat race than this. So, and that's, a game I would not necessarily say that was great, but it's slightly better at what it does. So in spite of all the efforts, this is a flat D-port, falls apart when you get to the game itself. Maybe there's fun to be had, but the Amiga version, I don't know, that leans into the Miami Vice a bit more. The graphics are better, the sound's better. This is an Amiga game through and through, and you're never going to be able to do it justice on the C64. Why try? Why bother? It just seems like an afterthought. And I don't know, I've never heard of it at this point. It's not even in the Lemon page. It's not even under the game title. It's under the American name.
Heatwave.
So I'm guessing I don't know how much of a big release it got in the UK. Enough to get on the pages of Zap, I suppose. But they didn't give it the greatest score, did they, at 54%? And I can see why they didn't actually. This isn't offering you anything that a lot of other games haven't done better. And in all fairness, I would just go and play Stunt Car Racer. If you want to play something that's a bit quirky on a different kind of environment, don't go for water, go for that, because it's far more fun than this, even with all these options and things. They don't mean anything when you get to the game if it's rubbish. What about you?
Yeah, this feels like the same engine or it's an offshoot of that Blue Angels game.
Yes, same sort of thing, yeah.
Because it's got the same menu, same attention to options. We saw it there. It's even that layout on the left where the back to basic thing. It's exactly the same, and all those options and things that you did in that Blue Angels games where you didn't know what was going on. It's the same here. It's just a really dull game attached to it. It's like we saw with Blue Angels. I'm not sure if I was doing something wrong, but even driving at breakneck speed, I could never seem to qualify. The clock seemed to go really fast. Does that, and it also does that thing of asking you to put fuel in for a race you've got no real details on. So how much do you put in? Too much? Too little? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't need to give me some information. It's just not good. The visuals in the race I didn't think were very good. There's no real sense of being on the water, as you said, other than the bumpy ride. When it gets bumpy, it's almost impossible to be like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, good Lord, what's going on? And then I found the engine noise got annoying quickly. No, this is a misstep. Another one. I don't know what's happened to Accolade of late. They were sort of reliable, but the last couple, this and Blue Angels, I don't know whether they're under some kind of new sort of thing of like turning these things out to a type, but this isn't very good. 54%, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's half bad, half, and there's not much to it. And the racing just don't feel very good fun,
No.
I didn't enjoy this. I don't actually ever think... I'm not even sure this actually got a release in the UK. I don't think it probably did.
I never heard of it or saw it anywhere.
No, it says $9.99 here, but I can't find any reference to a UK release, just the American one. So I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe I didn't. I don't no idea, but it's not very good.
No.
There we go. That's it. That's it for this week.
It is.
It's not been the... Well, we started off well. International 3D Tennis was good. Always rely on Sensible. But Space Harrier 2 and Scramble Spirits, Carrier Command, and Powerboat USA, Offshore Super Powerboat, whatever it is, racing.
Yeah.
So load of average to crap.
Yeah, unfortunately.
This week. So, and games that just shouldn't be on the machine. That Carrier Command... I had two, Carrier Command and Space Harrier. Two games came out in 1988 and more powerful machines decided to release them here, and they're just don't work.
Nope.
Oh, there we go. So that's the first half of June 1990. Next week, well, the scores are pretty average. So we've got Time Soldier, we've got Black Tiger, got Hot Rod.
God.
We've got Impossible.
Oh, no.
And we've got Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters.
Okay.
The average score at all that lot is like 70. They're all 60s, 70s. So God knows what we're going to be in for. They're all average. But maybe one of them will be good. Who knows? But that's it. That's it for this week. Not a particularly great bunch of games, but, may pick up next week. It's only 5 games. Who knows? Anyway, there you go. You got anything you want to add, Graham, on that lot?
No, I'm sad to see the, I say it again because we said it before, but I am sad to see the back of Sensible. But I know they're going to the Amiga and do great things and stuff like that. But there's a melancholy vibe to the entry in the Sensible book about this because it is their transition. I think they clearly cut their teeth and made some good stuff on the C64, and it's they obviously both have a passion for it. It tells you that much really because Chris Yates coded 3D International Tennis himself, whereas of course the Amiga version wasn't him.
No, true.
And later, of course, they also adopted the Sensible look, didn't they? So this had 3D or the tennis game come out much later as Sensible Tennis, it would have looked completely different on the Amiga later if it had come out later down the line.
You reckon it'd been like top down, like Sensible?
Yeah, well,
Soccer,
that's what Chris Yates says in the book. He says that if we'd have done it later, it would have definitely been like Sensible Golf and some of those others.
Yeah.
So,
oh well. There you go.
Well, that's the footnote. So goodbye them. But no, and Accolade clearly struggling as well. But sad times, really.
Yeah, weird sort of. Yeah. 2 not very particularly good arcade conversions, and got some more next week. Who knows what they'll be like? But anyway, we'll leave them for next week. And with that, I think we will leave you to go. So we're going to go and see what's going on with those other games. If you want to join us, if you want to sign up for the Patreon, you can do. If you want to support the podcast, it's always super great if you want to do that. Head over to the Patreon. There are 2 tiers. There's one for £1, one for the price of a pint of beer, about £4.50 for £5. You can do that. Go to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. Get the episodes early, ad-free, get access to our Discord, come along and chat, get to go on our special episodes, all those kind of things. We like to sort of reach out when we do that and get mentioned in the monthly shout out, which is always cool. If you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/Zapped to the Past, buy some merch to show how you're a Zapped to the Past fan. If you go into the Zap Live event in August, we'll be wearing it. And that's zappedtothepast.shop, or just rate reviewers. Please, it helps somehow. Or follow us on X or Facebook, things like that. That'd be cool. Don't think there's anything else.
Nope.
On that note, I've been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Too Much Honk and Not Enough Tonk. And we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapToThe, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.